Hello and welcome to another episode of The Grindbin. I'm Mike Wood.
I'm Bobby Trippett.
And today we're talking about 1989's The Return of Swamp Thing.
I'm like lunch meat. I'm always ready.
Hey, Bobby, I got the money.
Dad, I made the team. But you're a hooker.
Get that goddamn thing out of your mouth.
I said it, Knocker. I don't know.
Book ain't got no real rhythm.
Hello,
We're gonna play a little game, baby.
I just love fun and games. Get a little girl all hot and horny.
This is Los Angeles.
How the hell would women live? I'm horny. And maybe Daddy would have had to kill himself because he couldn't get it up anymore.
What a shame.
Come on, just step on the gas before we get creamed.
So guys, we're here on the first week of Summer Sequel Month 2018, the second Summer Sequel Month. Bobby, we know last year's was a disaster.
It was a beautiful one.
We had House 2,
you know-
Screwballs 2, Surf 2.
And the one diamond in a pile of shit, The Human Tornado.
Yeah, that was about it for good movies.
And see, it's a matter of perspective, because you think back on it like a disaster, but Human Tornado had such an impact that I remember it fondly.
Yeah.
Summer Sequel Month was a great success in my eyes. Despite there being 3 of the worst movies I've ever seen, one of my favorites was among them.
Yeah, and this month we've already planned it out to be definitely much more high quality.
We're going to feel a lot more positive about this one, I feel.
Including The Return of Swamp Thing, which is
Coming out swinging.
it's a real treasure in some ways and a real disaster in others. So it's a movie that exists.
So let's do a little setup here. Let's preface this. Let's talk about it. This, of course, being a part 2, we have never covered part 1 on this show. I don't think we will.
No, in fact, hard take. I've never seen Swamp Thing.
You've never seen it?
No.
It's not as fun as this.
No,
Quite frankly.
I've heard from everything that it's serious.
Yeah, the first Swamp Thing movie, the first attempt at adapting
By Wes Craven.
Len Wein's character from DC Comics, was done by Wes Craven, and he played it pretty straight. And that makes sense because the comic book character of Swamp Thing is not campy, you know?
Yep.
Actually, if you read some of those runs, particularly the Alan Moore run, the guy who wrote Watchmen, you know Alan Moore.
Yeah, and apparently he was writing it during the production of this movie.
Oh, really?
That's what I heard. I think
So that might have been an answer to it, because Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing, think what you will about Alan Moore, that's fantastic. I love that run. They do some great things. This does not feel like that.
Oh, no. No.
What a jump. You have Wes Craven doing the first movie.
Yeah.
And who better to take the torch from him and run just as fast than our boy Jim Wynorski.
Yes, Jim Wynorski making his Grindbin directorial debut. However, Grindbin All-Star.
A Grindbin All-Star.
From the last Summer Sequel Month, Screwballs 2.
Oh, dear.
Oh, boy, was he one of the writers on that movie.
Yeah, well, thanks, Jim.
So, full disclosure, this is a DVD provided to us by MVD.
Excuse me, it's a Blu-ray, thank you.
Blu-ray/DVD combo by MVD. What is it? The
MVD Rewind Collection.
Yes, which is
It's
Return of Swamp Thing.
a new sub-label they put out. They do amazing things with this.
They've sent us Return of Swamp Thing, which came out in May. And then just in June, we got the Lionheart
The Van
Rewind
Damme
collection.
classic.
Oh, boy. Talk about Van Damme classics, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we got that one. Might appear on the show. Definitely be a review, at least on the site. Handing over the copy to Bobby. He's going to take a watch. It's got the original and the French version of that movie. It's enjoyable. If you like Van Damme movies, Lionheart's a real hidden gem. Everybody goes with Bloodsport, but Lionheart, really, if you're looking for over-the-top, stupid humor, like unintentional, Lionheart's your one.
It's like a band that hits big, and then the super fans are like, yeah, but have you heard the first album?
Yeah.
Before they
there
got
you
signed
go.
to the major label?
Yeah.
Like that early album, that's the real shit. That's how it is with Lionheart with Van Damme. You're like early Van Damme.
Yeah.
He
It was like
hadn't
when I was
figured it out yet.
when I was a kid, my first CD I bought was Green Day Dookie, and then you go and you find out you listen to the old stuff. You're like, "Oh man, some good shit."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience in high school with Sugar Ray.
Oh boy.
Well, as we've mentioned on previous
They have
episodes,
good music,
I was
or?
into nu metal as a teenager, and similar with Incubus as well, where the albums that most people were listening to by those bands were not the same as their first album. Sugar Ray put out an album called Lemonade and Brownies, which is pretty juvenile. It was a little edgier, a little harder. Much like Incubus's Science album. None of this has anything to do with what we're talking about here tonight. We're here to talk about Swamp Thing.
Yeah. So, Return of Swamp Thing. Here's the thing. This is a movie. It was released. It had a budget of apparently around $4 million. Now, here's your Price is Right guess. By yourself, because it's only you and I.
Ooh, man.
What do you think it made in the box office? And by the way, keep in mind, this was released. Roger Ebert gave it a thumbs up. Siskel gave it a thumbs down.
What does Siskel know? Fuck
Yeah,
him.
exactly. The New York Times and LA Times both reviewed it. Bobby, what do you think Return of Swamp Thing pulled in the American box office?
Oh, man. All right. What year was this?
1989.
89, and what was the budget?
$4 million.
$4 million. I'm going to say it didn't make back its budget. I'm going to say it made $3 million.
It made $192,000.
Oh, no. Oh, dear.
I mean, I'm thinking of like...
Back in the swamp with you.
God damn, like, you're talking... This is a sequel to a movie that was successful by Wes Craven. You couldn't even get like 1 million people to go buy a ticket?
Man.
Like, if you think about it, what was a ticket back then? We're talking $5? You couldn't even get, like... you couldn't even get 500,000 people to go see this?
That sucks. I'm pretty sure I probably went.
Yeah, well...
But, I didn't have much expendable income in 89.
I mean, when I saw that, I was like, there's something wrong, right? So I went to multiple different sites and confirmed it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It sucked.
Man.
It was a mega bomb. I mean, I would equate Return of Swamp Thing to... It's basically the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 of Swamp Thing, and that, like...
Unappreciated but brilliant.
Wynorski went in a different direction. You know, he's like, we're going to make it weird and goofy and fun. As he says, he had no intention to ever make it serious because he watched the Wes Craven movie. He's like, I liked it, and I knew I couldn't make that.
That's fair. I got to say, I respect Jim's approach here.
So let's get into the background of director Jim Wynorski. Also, as he puts in the interview on the Blu-ray and DVD, secret writer. He's not credited, but we'll get into it.
He does that a lot.
He wrote this whole movie.
You can tell.
This is the first movie we have done of his that he's directed. Welcome to the show, Jim. You will be back. He's
hope
only
so.
made like hundreds of movies. He also claims in the interview, I said secret writer, Wynorski was given 30 days to shoot this movie.
Oh, man.
And he did it in 27.
Damn right.
But it's like, Jim, you don't want to use the other 3 days? Maybe
just find something you can maybe refine a little bit.
Yeah, maybe another take or something.
But, Mike, that wouldn't have the Wynorski charm.
No, and let me tell you, there is multiple releases of this movie, okay? And the original DVD has a commentary track on it. I believe it's 2005's release has a commentary track on it where Wynorski is kind of hard on the movie. This one, he is like totally on board, talking about it in a real happy way.
I wonder if it's, MVD putting together and remastering it and taking the care and everything can really make you look at your work a little differently.
Yeah, I don't know what
it is. Seeing it the best it's
but
ever looked has probably made him feel a little nicer about it.
He's like super excited on the commentary, and he's joined by the music composer and his editor, and they all talk about the production of it. And let me tell you,
the composer is Chuck Sereno, isn't it?
It might be
the same composer he worked with on Chopping Mall.
Yes, it's the same guy.
Yeah, because the music's great in this.
And he wrote it all in his bedroom. And did it in his bedroom with the synth and everything. Yep. As he says in the commentary track, he's like, yeah, we just wrote all this music a couple days. I was just writing it in my apartment bedroom. And that's a major motion picture soundtrack.
I feel with Wynorski, based on what I've heard about him and also what I've experienced having met him once, you just got to catch him on the right day. The kind of commentary you're going to get from him, the kind of response, the kind of things that he'll say really bases on just how he's feeling that afternoon.
Yes, and he's very gleeful in the new commentary and interviews. It's great stuff, and I got plenty of great information that I'm going to share throughout this episode because the stories are great, and man, he does not hold back. There are multiple points where he goes, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but...
Those are the best stories.
So he says that he was delivered the script for this movie, and they were like, you get to direct the Swamp Thing sequel. They handed it to him, and he said, I can't film this shit with the money you're giving me. Because it was like a serious movie, and for one, he's like, I don't do serious movies. Don't know why you'd have me direct it.
That's fair.
And 2,
You know I'm the guy who did Chopping Mall, right?
yeah, he's like, I can't film this shit. He's like, CG didn't exist at the time. And I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about, all these special effects? He's like, we don't have the budget for this. We got like a swamp is the set. And that's it. And according to Jim, they rented a house for all the interiors from a murderer.
What?
We'll get into that.
Holy shit.
Get into that. Okay, so here's the things in the commentary and the interview that I wrote down that Wynorski said went wrong on set. Okay?
Okay.
Oh, but by the way, so he took the script, right? Before we get into that, he took the script and him and a friend of his rewrote it, made it a comedy, and added the kid characters in the movie because they were not in the original draft. And he just said, like, now it's a kid movie. It's still rated PG-13, but now he's like, now it's for 5-year-olds.
You know, honestly, I appreciated the addition of the Swamp Goonies.
Well, the producers loved it. And they said, yeah, go ahead and film this. That's fine. Here's $4 million.
It made for a nice subplot.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, the kid characters do kind of like get
They're kind of
in.
lovable.
Yeah, it is. And like, if you're watching this as a kid, you're like, yeah, this is great.
Totally.
I could see it as like you're watching as a kid without the kid characters. It would just be like, who is this for?
I mean, well, as a
again?
kid, I was here for the monsters. Like,
Yeah.
like, you know, full stop. That's it. Just I didn't care what the story was. Just seeing Swamp Thing like duke it out with like a bug monster in this. That's great. I'll watch that for 15 hours.
Well, I think they called him. So I called that monster. We'll get into it. The tentacle.
The tentacle.
Yeah, because that's what it reminded me of.
Okay.
From tentacles. But they said something like it's a slug man or something like that.
That's what they were calling
Is
it.
what they were calling him.
Okay.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a slug. So he says things that went wrong on set. The production manager pissed him off the first day.
This guy's a son of a bitch.
Oh, he was. Because all of a sudden he said he showed up and they were like feeding everybody this crap food for craft services. And then right in the middle of eating, apparently the production manager said, oh, by the way, all the lunches are coming out of your pay.
What a douche.
And Wynorski's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, yeah. And he's all, well, how much are we talking here? He goes, $20 a day. And he's like, the fuck, I'm paying you $20 a day for you to feed me your shit food. And so he went on a hunger strike for about 5 minutes. As he said, he just sat in a corner.
Just stewing about it?
Yeah. He said he just sat in a corner and refused to join the movie until the guy said, all right, fine, we'll pay for your meals.
Hey, he won.
Because it wasn't just his meals. He said, you got to pay for everybody's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was
Hey,
like,
he took a stand for his cast.
he's like, fuck you, I'm the director. I'm not paying for everybody's meal.
Jim Wynorski's a saint. I won't hear any ill word about him.
So then Wynorski apparently, at one point, they couldn't get the Jeep that guy drives through a scene to go to the house
lead goon
to work. So if you look closely, you can see Wynorski pushing it himself behind the Jeep. You can see his shirt.
Oh man!
And he's like literally pushing it. And he said, "I had to get 2 guys to help me because nobody else would do it." And
Much like in
push it through
the
scene.
Human Tornado,
Yeah.
where you could see the plank of wood used to shake a bed.
Yeah, but Wynorski's pushing a Jeep through a swamp in Georgia. So
Man, the things he'll do for his own production.
Yep. And then apparently, that's what I said earlier. It's like he says in the interview that he made it into a comedy because he just said, I want to do something different and I'm not going to try and be Wes Craven. So
I mean, really, you look at the source material, you look at what he's being asked to make. How do you not have fun with it?
yeah.
You're like, no one's taking this seriously.
No,
And this is-
Return of Swamp Thing.
Bear in
Well,
mind what year this is. I mean, it's the same year as Batman.
Yeah, and here's the thing is like comic book movies are not well regarded in this
No.
time. Batman was like an anomaly.
Yeah.
It
Other
was-
than that, like Superman had gone horribly at this point.
Yeah, we're at like 4 by this point. We're at Canon
11 years
Pictures.
after the good one.
Yeah, we're at the Canon Films version of Superman.
Yeah, he's fighting the Solar Man. Who I read, by the way, they introduced that guy into the actual comics continuity finally.
Really?
Yeah.
They're like, it's
But
time
they've-
to give Canon
they've finally
Films
written
their
a
due.
story and brought in that guy.
You know, it's too bad Golan and Globus aren't alive to sue them.
Right. It's the only reason we got away with it.
They've been waiting forever. Like, oh, finally, those guys are dead. We can put it in there. So the real writers that are credited with it that had nothing to do with the actual movie, Neil Cuthbert, 6 credits, 2 TV things, and then his first movie was this. 1993, he wrote Hocus Pocus.
All right.
1999, Mystery Men, and then 2002, his career ended with Pluto Nash.
Oh. Oh, no.
Oh boy.
He was on such a good roll.
Yep.
That'll do it.
Pluto Nash, baby. I think I still have that on DVD as somebody gave it to me as a joke a long time ago. I think I watched it once. I was just like, whoa.
That's some kind of threat, right?
There's-
If someone gives you a DVD of Pluto Nash,
Yeah, it's
I
like
understand in some cultures that means you have to fight that guy.
I remember, back when Blockbuster bins were a thing. For somebody's birthday, you'd always go buy them whatever shitty movie you could find and kind of add it into the gift, you know?
No, I get that.
And I think that was one of them.
I once received a DVD of The Road that way.
Well, that's an interesting choice.
It's a good film, but
Yeah,
that's
but-
a bummer.
for a birthday. Hey, enjoy.
I like post-apocalyptic things. I get the reasoning behind it.
That's a real. Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna watch this in a good. Oh,
I'm not in a good place anymore.
Yeah.
I feel bad.
that was it. Bowed out after Pluto. He
Wow.
was done. By the way, I heard that script, by the way, was kicking around for about 10 years before they made it.
Yeah, I
into a
read that
movie,
once
so.
too. That's one of those.
Yeah, real blacklist one, you know.
Should have stayed there.
Like most of them. Grant Morris, 11 credits. Here's one for you. Nothing you've ever heard of besides this and this, basically. And here's one for you. I've never heard of it, right? 1990s, The Shrimp on the Barbie, which is a Cheech Marin movie about him being a Mexican restaurant. Like, he works at a Mexican restaurant in Australia, and then, like, some American tourist hires him to pose as her obnoxious new boyfriend in order to make her father accept her old boyfriend.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pass.
Yeah. Coming to a grind bin near you. The
probably.
Shrimp on the Barbie.
Yeah, that's coming, isn't it?
So getting to the cast, Heather Locklear, who plays Abby Arcane. Don't really need to talk about her background. Everybody knows who Heather
Most people know.
Locklear is.
I think at this point, though, at the time of making this, her highest achievement was being on T.J. Hooker.
Yes, and they have
Being
a
supporting
T.J. Hooker
character.
joke
They
in
do
this
make
movie.
a reference.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Apparently, she was wonderful to work with. Wynorski had nothing but praise and
You
said
know-
she was super friendly. She was awesome. Never had a problem doing anything. Like, she was like ready to go. So excited to be in the movie.
You know, I've never heard any ill about her. You know, I guess she's just great.
Apparently, she was dating Tommy Lee at the time, and him and Charlie Sheen showed up on set for a few days, and they're just fucking around, shooting machine guns
Man,
and stuff.
I imagine it was hard to differentiate them from the swamp monsters.
Yeah, well.
I mean, really. Which one of them played the slug man?
There's also a Motley Crue joke in this movie.
Perfect.
Which, hey. Dick Durock, who plays Swamp Thing.
Returning, I believe. Wasn't he Swamp Thing in the previous
played
one?
Swamp Thing in the previous.
Did he play Swamp Thing on the TV series as well?
I think he did. I'm not entirely sure, but
Because
if
the
you don't
TV
know,
series kind of tried to be the bridge between the two movies. Like, the
Yes.
tone was kind of somewhere in the middle.
it was serious. It was like you know how like Walker Texas Ranger had some jokes.
Yeah.
To it, you know, like that. I'd say
That's kind of...
yeah.
God, I loved the opening of that, though.
Yeah, I remember Swamp Thing, the show, as a kid. I was never into it because I was just like, huh? I mean, Swamp
I
Thing
just
to
loved
me is
monsters
like
so much.
The thing with
It's
Swamp
like that
Thing,
and Hulk was all I watched as a kid.
the thing with Swamp Thing is like, how do you take it seriously? Like, if you don't know the comics, like as a general moviegoer in the public, and you see this thing, it doesn't translate as being a serious superhero or something. It looks like a
because
joke.
In the late 80s, early 90s, it's impossible to depict that in a way that you'll take seriously. It's a rubber suit, man. You can't...
But that's why I'm saying like the camp works.
yeah.
Because how the fuck am I going to take this seriously?
Well, I'm certain with the way things are going with comic book movies, especially the DC universe being so down-tempo
Yeah.
and so sad, we're going to get the Alan Moore Swamp Thing on the screen sooner than later.
Probably.
Like, I don't know anything, but it feels like that's probably coming, right?
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
a
nothing else has
super-
worked, so we're
a
going to get
super
the
sad, self-pitying
yeah.
Swamp
We're
Thing
gonna get
movie.
the Zack Snyder Swamp Thing, which
Fantastic.
we'll all love.
It's going to be so good.
Did you ever hear that he said that he wanted to have something like in one of the Batman movies where Batman was going to go to prison and get raped?
No?
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
I'm serious. He said that was like one of his ideas was that he was like going to go into prison and be hardened.
That
it's like,
sounds terrible.
Zach.
You know, maybe it's for the best that he's off these movies.
And I think they were like, is Joss Whedon around or
Joss, don't leave.
how much? How much? He was also in, so Dick Durock, 64 credits, original Swamp Thing, maybe the TV show, I didn't write it down. 1976, he's in The Enforcer with Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry movie. 1980, The Nude Bomb. Did you know they made a Get Smart movie? Because I didn't.
I've heard of the Nude Bomb. I don't think I put together that was a Get Smart movie.
Yeah, Maxwell Smart.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. 1980, Any Which Way You Can.
Was he the monkey?
Yeah. Yeah, he's like the original Andy Serkis. You know, that's what Dick was known for. 1982, They Call Me Bruce.
Oh.
He was in that. 1986, Raw Deal. That's
right.
the Schwarzenegger one nobody remembers.
It's
you know,
true.
that's like his real underground one that people are like, oh, he made
I
another?
legit remember as a younger man, as a preteen, looking at all the Schwarzenegger movies in the video store, getting to that one and going, meh. I guess I'm going to watch Running Man again.
It's something about like the name of it and the cover. You're like,
It's just everything
eh.
about it is so vanilla.
I've heard
so
it's
dull.
like pretty violent.
Maybe it's great.
I've never actually seen that
I haven't
one,
either.
so-
I never bothered because he wasn't fighting a monster and he wasn't like,
Yeah.
there was nothing to attract the.
No Predator, no Future, no thanks. You know?
That's the truth.
But everybody did love Commando, so you got that.
That was great.
But I mean, that was sold purely on the petting the deer,
yeah.
you know, the whole moment with the deer. I think we're all like, we want to see the tender side of Schwarzenegger.
That's all
you
we've
know?
been looking for.
And Alyssa Milano is his daughter, I think.
Yeah.
That was that's a movie. 1986, he was in Stand By Me, and then he passed away in 2009 at the age of 72.
Oh, no.
Apparently, his voice was overdubbed by an unknown actor, is
Jim
what they
Wynorski.
say, in this movie. Nope, they just said, apparently, Wynorski and Durock did not know until the film premiered that they overdubbed his voice.
Oh, my. Can you imagine? You're sitting there in the theater and then you just, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Some other guy's voice starts coming
Yeah,
out.
if I was Dick, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
I just, no.
Do you imagine Dick confronted Jim?
Yeah, he just
And
grabs
Jim's
him
like,
by the
not me, dude,
No,
not me.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
just picks him up.
Sarah Douglas, who plays Dr. Lana Zarel. I didn't know she had a name. I just called her scientist lady because I don't really remember them really treating her with respect.
No.
It's just a typical
Her name was
Wynorski.
Lana Zor-El.
Yeah, Zarel.
She's just playing multiple Superman characters.
Well, that's funny because she's most well known for her roles in Superman 1 and 2 as Ursa.
Had to be a nod to it. Oh, shit, she's Ursa.
Yep.
I thought she looked familiar. Fantastic.
She has 85 credits, probably most well known for those. She was also in 1984's Conan the Destroyer, 1986's Solar Babies, and 1988 Nightfall. Now, the only reason I wrote this down is it has literally the absolute best IMDb description I've ever heard written or ever seen written. Okay?
Okay.
Now, IMDb descriptions are written by people, and this is what somebody wrote. A bird pecks someone's eyes out. It gets dark, and then it snows. The end.
Wow. It's like a poem.
1988's Nightfall, everybody. She was also in 1991's Beastmaster 2, Through the Portal of Time.
Fantastic. What a run.
Yeah, 1992, Meatballs 4,
Oh.
the Feldman joint.
Oh, no.
Oof. And then 1993, she was in Return of the Living Dead 3.
I love Return of the Living Dead 3.
She's one of the main characters in that movie. She's third build, so.
Is she?
And I believe she's on the cover.
She's the girl. Mm-hmm. Oh, she's great in that. Holy shit.
She's
Man,
still,
I'm having quite the experience right now.
Yeah. What? Yeah, she's great. She's still working, actually, and her most recent role was on an episode of Supergirl. She did not revive her role, which I was like, oh, that would have been fun. No, it wasn't Ursa, so. But she's on Supergirl, which is a show that exists that somebody's watching. Nobody I
I'm
know.
told that's a show.
But somebody's watching it. That's kind of like everything on that CW, WB, whatever you call it. You're like, those are shows that exist that somebody watches.
My wife watches Riverdale.
There you go.
Huge
That's one
Archie fan.
I've heard
she
that's...
watches, and it's actually, I've sat through like I had to endure it. I've sat in for some of the episodes, and that's a fucking cool show.
I've heard it's good.
It's Twin Peaks in the Archie universe.
Oh. Now, I do like myself some Twin Peaks, so...
And that is so batshit on paper that we're going to use the characters from Archie Comics to do a Twin Peaks show.
Oh, man.
It works, man. It's
now
awesome.
that I'm thinking about it, you know how all sorts of different dimensions in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Man, all you need is Agent Cooper showing up on an episode of Riverdale.
Oh, man. That'd be so great.
Or you're like, Archie's going to go to the Black Lodge.
And it's about to spin off, too. They're doing a Sabrina series now.
Interesting.
Netflix got the rights to that in that universe.
Well, that's
I don't mean to go down a tangent here. I
That's
got
a
excited.
thing that somebody will watch.
It's true.
Yeah. There's too much TV. Hard take.
Oh, man. You're putting the foot down. We need to knock it off.
There
with
is.
the TV.
Everybody's always telling me, you got to watch this show, you got to watch this show. And I'm just like, there's too much show.
Be sure to join our Patreon where we talk about television shows.
Yep. Old television shows. How it used to be. The good days.
When there were only 12 channels.
Where it was Fox as fuck. Anyways, here's some trivia from the commentary before we get into the movie, guys.
Yeah.
Wynorski says the mansion interiors were all shot in a real mansion rented by a real-life murderer who got away with it. A notorious murderer, he says, in Georgia who got away with murdering people.
What is the murderer's name?
He would not say it, I
Well,
think,
then
for
it's
good
bullshit.
reason. No, it's not.
Oh, he's trying
Oh,
to
really?
protect himself. by
You
not
think
saying.
a real-life plantation house wasn't occupied by a real-life murderer?
Okay, maybe I'm
In
willing
the
to believe
swamp,
this.
Bobby.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah, so he
There are some
says
swamp things living near that mansion.
was a legit murderer that is well known.
Who
And they rented it from him.
was never caught.
And he said, great guy, you know.
Was
the
he
real
brag
Eddie D's
about
in
it?
for it. No. He just said, yeah, he was a murderer. And they were like, you're joking, right? He goes, no.
I mean, how do you know this? If the guy never got caught, does the guy
Oh,
just
no.
go
It's
around-
well known that he's a murderer. He got away with it.
Wow.
Like, I feel like they went to trial and he got it.
And he was acquitted.
Yeah.
Huh.
Or they were just like mistrial, you know?
Well
yeah,
then.
fuck it.
All right.
Guess you got away with this one. We'll get you next time, though.
You watch
know?
your ass, though. We got an eye on you.
I feel like you get away with one murder, it's going to be like, we got our eye on you.
You know.
Well, it's kind of like Evil Genius, if you see that Netflix special.
Oh, it's about the pizza bomb situation?
Yeah, there's a lady on there who got away with multiple murders, and they know that she murdered people, and she still got away with it.
That's so weird.
You know,
The system's
technicalities.
The school's closed. The prison's open.
Yeah, you know. So then Uncle Shed's, which is in this movie, guess what? Real place.
Really?
Yeah, Uncle Shed's exists. It was a fishing camp. That sign, everything, that whole area was real.
You're blowing my mind right now. I got to listen to this commentary
Uncle
track.
Shed's is a real place, was a real place. I tried to look it up. It does not exist anymore. It was in the Georgia swamp. But there is an Uncle Shed's Road still in Georgia, which I believe is probably where that used to be. The guy who wrote the music,
Chuck Sereno.
we're assuming it's him, said he wrote the
No,
entire
it is.
score in his bedroom.
It definitely is.
I did like, for some reason, why they kept using pan flute. For Swamp Thing, I was like, that's a hard choice.
Well, he's a mythical creature at this point.
I thought at first, I was like, did they write the music or did they just buy like a CD at the mall and they're like, we can use this in our movie, right? And the guy's like, what? And they just walked off. No, Wynorski said, there's a line in this movie, which Bobby opened the show with, I'm like lunch meat, I'm always ready. Ever since it was in this movie, he used that line in every single movie he made since. He has somehow worked it in to every movie since Return of Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that because I haven't seen that many Jim Wynorski movies post Swamp Thing.
Yeah. Well,
He loves
you
that
picked
line
that
so
line.
much. It's like I knew.
And he said it was an improv line
Sounds
that
like
he
one.
then threw into everything.
Man,
Yeah.
stick to the bit, man. That's good.
All the character actors in this movie are actually from Georgia. They're just real local actors.
Locals?
Yeah, and he said they were all great. Like that cop in the beginning who comes into the mansion and everything, said dude was just hilarious, showed up at the audition. They were like, yeah, you're great. Now he says there's a bunch of great character actors in Georgia because Dino De Laurentiis at the time was filming all his movies in Georgia. And so all these dudes would act in Dino De Laurentiis movies, and he says every single one of these guys you see in the movie, they're all in Dino movies.
They're just around.
Yeah, he cast them in every movie that he made because he's like, these are my guys,
Hey,
you know?
that's what you got to do. It's
Yeah.
it's like how Near Dark is cast entirely with the cast of Aliens
They're just like, yeah.
because they were
well.
busy. They were shooting Aliens at the time, and
Come on over here.
Catherine Bigelow just showed up to set. And was like, you, and you.
You
Come
know,
on.
Was that the time when she was with James Cameron? Oh, that
Absolutely.
makes perfect sense.
So she was
Yeah.
already there anyway, probably visiting.
Exactly.
And started talking to people like, you want to be my vampire western?
And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Kick-ass movie.
So apparently this was one of the first Miramax releases.
Really?
Now here's where we get into something very interesting on the commentary.
Oh,
Okay.
dear.
So we're in a post-Weinstein world.
We are,
at the
yes.
point when they recorded this.
Because this is newly recorded by MVD.
Yeah, this was very recent because they said that not Harvey Weinstein, the other
Bob.
Weinstein brother, Bob, wanted to buy the movie, and Harvey did not. And when they bought the movie and were distributing it, apparently Harvey Weinstein made the choice of, on the poster, to make Heather Locklear's boobs look big
Oh, dear.
because he said that it wouldn't sell otherwise. And apparently when they sent the poster over, Heather Locklear's agent went ballistic, said, what the fuck are you doing? You're like altering her, and you know, he was like, you're going to ruin her career and all this stuff. And real hard take for Weinstein at the time.
Man. Yeah, I can't believe nobody knew
Oh, yeah, I know.
that he was a pig monster.
I think Wynorski says in it, it all comes around.
Oh, God. It does, doesn't it?
So, yeah, that's a hard take. In the commentary, that I was like, man, that's a new one to me.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I never look at a movie poster and go, how about them boobs, right? Never done that. Really? Yeah. Well, look at is that the same one that we have here on the cover?
You're gesturing to the Blu-ray that we have right here. No.
No, it's not.
It definitely is
You
not.
can't see boobs at all.
No.
No, it looks like they have a different. Yeah, it looks like they have a different one. But why?
Because he's fucking Weinstein.
So we found out at this point that Harvey Weinstein really is the real life Mr. Crown.
In every way.
I mean, he basically is. He's putting people's boobs bigger on a poster. He's, he lives by the motto of hard than soft. And oh no, why is that phone ringing?
This hasn't happened in so long.
I know.
Should
I feel
I
like
even
he's
answer
gone.
it?
I'm kind of worried.
How do you know we were talking about him?
I don't know. Go ahead and pick it up.
Okay. Hello?
I heard my name mentioned.
Holy shit. Mr. Crown. Mr.
Yeah.
C, how are you? Long
Hello,
time.
Trippet. It hasn't been well, okay? It's been very bad.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
So, Mr. Crown, why are you calling?
I heard my name mentioned. As I said, I hear everything. Now, the listeners have been wondering, where am I? Well, I've been underground again because this guy, Weinstein, has really ruined my career as well. I can't come on and tell you all my fun stories about making boobs bigger on posters because somebody ruined it for everybody.
Well, I wouldn't know if I'd put it like that. That's
certainly one angle to take, Mr. C.
Well, look, I've been working hard to get you guys a new sponsor, and then the other day, it went even worse. Because I get on the phone, I'm on a conference call, I think we're going to get this big hit, this big money train for the Grindbin, a big-time sponsor.
That sounds great.
Yeah, keep going.
Well, no, it all got fucked up because some guy started talking about fried chicken, and then he throws around a word that we don't. Look, at some point, people used to talk a different way, and...
Okay, I don't think we need to go into this. I think we have an idea of who you were talking with.
Were you on a conference call, Mr. Crown?
I was on a conference call and went horribly wrong.
Oh, no.
So what are you contributing to our Return of Swamp Thing episode?
Fuck you.
Okay, I guess he's gone.
Is that the line's dead?
Will we hear from him again?
Do we have to put the receiver back down?
So he still works for the Grindbin?
I didn't know he did. I thought he was gone.
Oh, God, it's ringing again. Go ahead and pick it up.
God, I feel like I'm in Scream. Hello?
I'll be back.
That was it. He hung up.
Okay, well.
You heard it here.
Huh. Well, before we get into the movie, I have one more character to name. Actor Luis Jordan.
Louis Jordan?
Okay. Who plays Dr. Anton Arcane, as I just put evil dude throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Longtime character actor in tons of movies,
Bringing
including...
some class to this production.
Oh, okay. Wait for it. Including Octopussy and Gigi.
Mm-hmm.
He hated being in this movie.
What?
And you can tell that from every scene and look on his face.
Yeah.
He has utter disdain for the material. And according to Wynorski, who says he doesn't want to speak ill of the dead, but he's a massive asshole. Okay, Wynorski said that he's MGM. He says like he comes with MGM baggage, as he put it. Is that Luis thought so highly of himself that he was just a total dick from day one on the set.
I thought he was just bringing that to the Arcane character.
Nope.
Well, then he's perfectly cast.
Everything that you see, if you look at it with those eyes of knowing that he hates this movie, you see it. You see every time when he lets a line out and then he's like, are you going to fucking call cut?
Man, it's like Bruce Willis now.
Yeah, it's bad, man. Here's some stories, okay?
Okay.
Wynorski says he hated him.
Just salting the earth on that one.
And he was only in the movie because he was in the first one, and they demanded to bring him back. And what's really funny is
during
they said,
the commentary, did Wynorski have to go visit his grave for 30 seconds and come back?
Yeah, like what we said we'll do to Deason's grave.
Yeah.
Yeah, he showed up with in a reference to Vice Squad, which you haven't seen, Bobby. He said he showed up with a 6-pack and 6-pack and $100 bill.
Man,
You'll get that eventually when you hear
by
that
the time
episode.
this episode airs, I will have seen it.
Yeah.
And maybe we could add in my reaction. Totally.
So he says he hated him. Yeah. He tells a story about how Luis would refuse to call the character Points in this movie by the name Points because he said it was a sexual innuendo. So Wynorski brought up, dude, you just walked off the set of Octopussy.
Fair point.
And Luis basically said, fuck you, and went to his trailer.
What a diva. Now, I know you have to consider who these stories are coming from, but so far, Wynorski, 5 stars.
Yeah.
Stand-up dude in all of these stories.
Dude, trust me, this is real stuff. You
No,
can
I'm not
see it.
No, I'm not saying he's lying. I'm
After
saying
I-
so far I'm Team Wynorski on all of this.
After I was listening to the commentary, I watched this movie, I'm like, I can totally see it. Okay, he said another thing is he didn't show up to the rap party. Everybody else in the whole movie showed up. He
Literally
said they
the whole
had a
cast
great
was there
time,
except for Louis
but
Jordan.
Luis would not show up. They also said that like years later there was like a press thing for like a re-release, and they had to get somebody from the cast, and he's the only person they could get. So he was just like taking a quick paycheck to show up and talk about how
Man.
much he hated the fucking movie. And then he says that Luis would refuse to do second takes or close-ups for some scenes. And apparently they would get the master shot, and Jim was like, okay, now we're going to go to the mediums and the close-ups. And he says, no, you got it.
Now, Mike,
Mm-hmm.
I got to ask you, you have experience directing films.
Mm-hmm.
Would you put up with that shit? Or would you recast it?
Well, here's the thing.
I know you only got 30 days.
We just have, everything that I've done, I pay actors, right? And then I have friends,
Yeah.
like you, Bobby, who volunteered.
Yeah, case in point, I performed in your most recent film.
Yes.
Great time. You were lovely to work with.
Very frantic that night. That was a hectic night.
It was a hell of a night. And
we got like 5 pages done in 3 hours, which was fucking
it was
insane.
something, and I look forward to hearing from our listeners who've seen the film once it's done.
Yeah.
But let's say I have my head planted firmly between my cheeks.
Mhm.
Do you replace me, or
Well,
or do
seeing
you
as
just
I-
write it
I
out,
know
put
you
up with
well-
it? He's already here.
Well, okay. Well, I'll give you from experience.
Okay.
I have worked on a few things where somebody's kind of being a diva, and you just kind of. My technique was like you just kind of have to let them go for a bit, and like if they kind of make an ass out of themselves and see that everybody else is kind of responding badly to it, sometimes you can kind of get them to come around, and they're like, "All right, I'm being a jerk,"
Yeah.
But my opinion is kill them with kindness. And I do this with most things. Like if somebody says a negative comment to me about the show, which rarely happens, I would just say, I would ignore exactly what they said and just said, hey, thanks for listening, man. You can check out more on the Patreon. $2 a month gets you even more Grindbin.
Because that's either going to soften them up a little bit or just really piss them off.
Yeah. So you just kind of disarm them right off the bat.
Okay,
And like
okay.
in a time when I've had somebody that's difficult to work with, I'd just go like, you know what? You're totally right. Why don't we just go ahead, try that, And then once they do their thing and we see it's kind of not working, then you come back and you go like, why don't we just go for a little compromise, but kind of like work your way into it, As I always say, like as far as design stuff or writing a script or anything like that, best thing you do is like if you ever get back notes from somebody that are fucking terrible, you just say, man, this is real great. And then when you come back with the next draft, you don't write any of those notes in there, right?
That I've had experience with, getting script notes on a screenplay, and you go, hey, good idea.
Yeah, that's
and then
great.
you don't do it.
Yeah, and you don't do it. And when they read it again, they're like, hey, what about all those things I added? And you go, you know what? I was writing it, and I was thinking like maybe going a different direction. I didn't really think it worked, but really love the feedback, though. I feel that's how Jim kind of handled it, was just like, apparently they did get in a few
I don't know.
verbal
I mean, from that story, at
altercations.
least, it sounds like Jim was willing to call him out.
He did call him out. Apparently, they got in verbal altercations and shouting matches at some points, but eventually it all kind of worked out, and he was like, dude, we can't just film the whole movie in fucking wide. This isn't a Kubrick film. He's like, we got to get coverage.
Oh, man, can you imagine Swamp Thing as done by Kubrick?
No.
Like, the amount of time we'd spend on a leaf.
Yeah, like a Barry Lyndon style Swamp Thing. Just have a whole scene where he just stares out into a field, stares out in the swamp for 5 minutes as we do a slow zoom.
I'm here for it. I want this.
No, what I feel like, because Wynorski was saying that there'd be like, a 3-minute scene, and they'd shoot it all in the master, and he'd be like, yeah, that's great. It's like, dude, we got to cut to like a close-up. We have to get your close-up. We can't just have the master
This
as
isn't
the
an
only coverage.
off-Broadway show
It's
here.
like, what
We
the
need to-
fuck, dude? So the last person I'm going to mention is Monique Gabrielle, who plays Points, the character that Luis would not mention, which that's a real low-rent sexual innuendo. Like, Points? It's not even good.
No.
She's just in it because she was Wynorski's girlfriend at the time.
Hey, all right.
And she was in a couple of his other movies. She's also a Grindbin All-Star. Hey, Chained Heat.
All right.
Everybody's in Chained Heat. That's what you're
Even
going to learn.
points.
Everybody's in Chained Heat.
One of us might be in Chained Heat.
Might be.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
The big green guy is back.
They call me Swamp Thing.
You're a plant, aren't you?
He's come back to settle the score.
Find him and bring him in.
He's got a grudge, cause they turned him to sludge.
I believe this is yours.
What?
The return of Swamp Thing. Starring Louis Jourdain.
What did you do? Sell your soul to the devil?
Let's just say he has a lease with an option to buy.
Heather Locklear.
She can get in my James anytime she wants to.
Why can't men be more like plants? I mean, you can stroke a plant and it doesn't get the wrong idea.
And Swamp Thing.
But I can't give you the kind of love you want.
Why not?
I'm a plant.
That's okay. I'm a vegetarian.
The return of Swamp Thing. He's turning over a new leaf for love.
We open up. Some guys, it's dark in the swamp, and they're hunting something.
Yeah, I didn't know. Were they? I mean, they eventually say it, but at first I'm like, are we going squatching?
Yes, that's what I thought.
Is there a swamp
they're
squatch?
out here
We're looking for a skunk ape?
Because I thought, okay, this is a sequel, right? Maybe they're hunting
They're
Swamp
looking
Thing?
for this. They've
Yeah.
heard the legend of the swamp thing. This
Exactly.
is Victor Crowley. We're in the swamp. We're looking for it because
Yeah.
we heard some shit went down. No,
No.
they're looking for a still.
Okay, here's the thing. They're looking for a still because they want to arrest these moonshiners, all right? Arrest.
Yeah.
And this is where we're saying these guys then will go on to say they work for the government and stuff. I'm like, what government?
Their
'Cause
own
these
government.
Dudes
This
are
is
like,
this is a Bundy camp situation.
yeah, that's exactly. I was like, this. What is it? Like the Minutemen? Like
Totally.
the Bundy camp style thing? Like these guys are just like hobbyists.
These are swamp Bundys.
Because they're just wearing like, you know,
Oh, they're dressed like they're going paintballing.
like you can't even get this at Military Surplus. This is
Hell
like
no.
camo you buy at Walmart.
This is the 5 for 10. When you were in high school, I used to buy my weirdly colored camo pants because I dressed like a Dudley boy.
You'd have like a bucket hat with camo on and stuff. Like that's not police issue. like,
The kind of camouflage you could only hide in a fun house.
is this like what the ATF would give out in 1989? Like times are tough, dude. Like, you know, there's not enough alcohol, tobacco, and firearms out in the world, so budgets are low. We're getting our uniforms.
Sorry,
from...
guys. The war on drugs is working.
Yeah, this was like peak war on drugs. We're like, we got nothing left. We got to go after stills.
Swamp still.
Swamp stills. And so yeah, they're looking around, and then they keep saying something about how they're police or so. I don't really know where they're from.
While all that bullshit's going on, we do have a nice moment where we kind of have a Jaws homage. Something's following these guys in the swamp because we pull back to the bespectacled Deezen of the group.
Oh yeah,
And something kind of lightly surfaces in the bayou for a second there. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
yeah. And at first you're like, okay, maybe it's Swamp Thing. Maybe these guys are bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
because we're expecting Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing's pro moonshining. That's one thing we've always known. He's a defender of the downtrodden. It's like in the Friday the 13th remake where they made him a pot farmer.
Wait,
Did
I'm
you
sorry,
see the remake?
Jason's
the
a
Platinum
pot
Dunes?
farmer.
Yeah, the cold open to Friday the
Oh, for
13th,
fuck's
2009. They're looking for this, this pot field that's supposed to be at Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
And that's what gets Jason Zedander up as they go after his pot.
No, is he the farmer or just a patron?
We never get clear about it, but he clearly starts wrecking these people to defend his pot farm.
I mean, how does he go up to the front counter? It's like, does he go up
He
to
must-
the guys?
he's gotta be growing it
they're
himself.
Like, I'm sorry, sir. Do you want? Did you say ounce, eighth, And it just like we don't take machetes in trade.
And it's a weird take on the character because for a guy who's passionate about marijuana, he's got no chill.
Well, that's what. Well, when you mess with it, maybe the whole thing is like he's messing with people that mess with his pot.
It turns out
You know what I
that's
mean?
the breathing sound. Just the
He's got
it's just him exhaling.
he's
'cause
got
been
some
holding
sort
it.
of like fucking Jason Bong in that hockey mask. You know what I mean?
Can you picture just smoke coming out of the holes of the hockey mask?
He's like
That's why one of his eyes is half closed.
Holy shit! I think we're onto something here.
He's high as shit every time we see him.
Yeah, you know he has the adverse reaction for some reason when he smokes. Man, he gets fucking violent.
He's hangry.
So something else attacks them, right? While a guy's taking a piss in a real
is the,
classic Wynorski.
Yep.
Right? It's not Swamp Thing, it's Slugface or
Yeah,
something.
kind of a rubber suit Baxter Stockman shows up. I didn't know if he was supposed to be like a giant skeeter.
Oh, yeah, he is kind of like Baxter Stockman, yeah.
So yeah, Morty is the character who gets pulled under by the Slugman.
Yeah.
So are we gonna settle on Slugman? Is that what we're calling this guy?
Slugman, sure.
Slugman.
He's a Slugman.
He's a definite Slugman.
So the guys run away, and then a Jeep with, is this the incel militia guy?
Definitely.
The incel militia guy.
The Swamp Bundies.
And Points show up, and the guys are like, hey, we're glad to see you. We're government agents. And then they get shot, right, by Points.
Mowed down.
And I write, for what? Because Jim, at this point, I don't know what's going on, man. And then the guy who loses his glasses,
Yeah,
right?
we have our there was time now moment.
Yeah. He loses his glasses, and then Swamp Thing's here. He kicks the Slugman's ass, right? And then the pan flute comes in. Pan flute. So here's the thing: is like we always want it to be like real epic when Swampy makes his big debut. We get Mall pan flute.
Not only Mall pan flute, but the way they present it too is every single time Swamp Thing's supposed to have the big hero shot, he doesn't have like a pose or anything. He just kind of comes in like an irritated dad who's hearing too much noise at a sleepover.
Yeah.
I thought I told you little shits to keep it down. You know,
To pan flute.
yeah,
Like
your
it's a-
pan flute,
like
and he
a-
just kind of stumbles into frame like, what's going on in here?
Like, what were they thinking inspiration-wise? They're like we want it to be like Yanni would play
Ooh.
when Swamp Thing comes out or something.
That's
You know, that's what
nice.
I'm hearing in my head. And they're like, are you sure, Jim? Okay. Give it more pan flute. And he's just sitting in his
I'm
bedroom.
not feeling it.
So he saves the glasses guy. He introduces himself and goes in for a shake. And what in the fuck is when I write, they blew the whole budget on this baby. CCR's Creedence Clearwater Revival's Born on the Bayou.
Perfect. Just hearing the music.
Okay, it's perfect, but what in the fuck? Do you realize how hard it is to get a CCR song for anything?
Like, that's half your budget.
Yeah. And they said on the commentary they wouldn't do the movie if they couldn't get that song cleared. That was it. They were like, we got to get the song cleared.
He had a vision.
The producer says he worked his ass off to get that cleared, and he did.
Well, it works so well, especially with the way they present these opening credits. Because, yeah, he talks to Morty, and Morty's like, where do you come from? He goes, the bog. He's like, I'm Swamp Thing. And then CCR revs up, and we have panels from the comics.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
They said, by the way, that they filmed that intro in their office. Is that they put it on like a record player, and they just had panels from the comics, and they would spin them around in front of the camera and stuff.
Putting down pages.
Uh-huh.
It looks great.
The intro credits are the best part of this whole movie. They're the most expensive part of this whole movie, and maybe many others.
Because it does a very good job to differentiate. It does a very good job to set the tone of this one. Like, we're doing a comic book movie now. So settle in. We're not doing some kind of exploration of the emotional effect of being turned into a swamp thing. No. We're doing Rubber Suit Monster movie.
It's
here.
like an issue of Swamp Thing, this
Yeah.
movie. And really it is. There's only like 3 things that happen in this whole movie.
Yeah.
But it's so funny that they got CCR for this movie. And I was just like, when I was watching it, my jaw dropped. Because Fogarty is notoriously difficult to
Maybe
work
Fogarty
with.
is a Swamp Thing fan.
Maybe.
Maybe he's like, oh, cool.
Maybe he's a Wynorski fan. Who knows, you know? Do you feel like Fogarty, when people come to him, they're like, hey, we want to put one of your songs in the movie. He's like, oh, great. What do you want? And they're like, well, we want a Creedence song. And he's like, oh, really? You don't want Put Me in, Coach? Or they're like, well, nobody wants that, John. Nobody. No.
I think you know
Two
what I bet
for one.
I think he was just excited that it wasn't a Vietnam War movie.
Yeah, he's like, oh god, another Full Metal
He's
Jacket
like,
type of thing.
He's like, all right, what war movie is this? They're like, no, it's a comic book movie. And he's like, what kind of comic books? And they're like, it's not a soldier book. It's about a monster in the swamp. He's like, fuck yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna give you Born on the Bayou.
And I'll throw in, put me in. We don't want it, John. We
You know
don't
what,
want
though?
it.
It's funny though because we'll get to it in a moment. There's a perfect spot for it.
Oh god. I feel like that's the real kicker now. Is it'll be like, if you put in that song, you're gonna have this song.
In fact, what I'd like to do, and if I had the time and the know-how to do this, I want to take all the moments when Fogerty's music has appeared in films and replace it with "Put Me in, Coach."
Please don't.
Just helicopters coming
That song,
in over Vietnam and just
Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play as the bombs drop today. Look at me.
just getting some out the helicopter. Center field.
Can you just cut it to the part in Platoon when Willem Dafoe's getting shot? I once saw a man reenact that scene at a laser tag.
He dropped down and put his arms out.
Years ago, for one of my birthdays, I was like, "Let's go play laser tag in our late 20s," and we went and did it. And man showed up dressed as Schwarzenegger from Commando.
He had the paint on and everything.
Yeah, and he had the headband and all sorts of things, fatigues.
Beautiful.
And then so he shows up like that, and then in the middle of the laser tag round, he got on his knees and did the Willem Dafoe in the middle while all these children were shooting him, and he goes, "No!"
That's amazing.
Okay, so Flower Shop, Heather Locklear works here, and she's like, why can't men be more like plants?
I mean, you can stroke a plant and it won't get the wrong idea.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what, lady? I got the perfect man for you. His name's Swamp Thing. Wonder if they'll
Perfect.
meet, right?
Oh, they're made for each other.
Well, she takes her plant love a little far because she also has plants in this store that she all gives male names and treats them like her boyfriends.
Oh, she's psychotic in this movie.
I write.
I know we're all supposed to find her very charming, but I'm concerned.
No. It's called fetishes.
Yeah.
And she has some severe mental issues because, as we'll see, when she first meets Swamp Thing, it's not even like hesitation. It's like, oh my god,
she's all about it.
Yeah, it's like you could hear it in her head.
She finally found someone who meets the criteria.
It's like she just has her, Top Gun moment where she just hears "Take My Breath Away" as Swamp Thing comes out of the swamp all
Man,
foggy.
we're gonna have a lot of music in this episode.
We'll play that for that scene. We should.
Before you go any further, she's essentially Poison Ivy.
Oh
She's
my god.
Dr. Pamela Isley. She likes plants a lot more than humans to the point where she's fetishized.
DC Universe. I would hate to see what Zack Snyder does with a Poison Ivy character.
You know what's funny? Let me push up my glasses real quick for this one. In Batman and Robin, one of the characters is actually a character from the Swamp Thing comics.
What?
Yeah, the doctor who fucks over Poison Ivy and makes Bane is actually the Floronic Man, who is a Swamp Thing villain.
Oh. Well, I could see that.
It's all connected, man.
How many, what villains does Swamp Thing face?
Just Arcane and his monsters.
Yeah, because I'm like, well,
Majority of the books, especially post Alan Moore run, are Swamp Thing kind of dealing with. They kind of made Swamp Thing almost a Doctor Strange-esque character. He's dealing with shit that most humans can't understand.
Huh.
They do this whole thing with the red and the green. It's like these forces. We don't have time to get into it, but it's a lot of self-reflection. It's a heavy book. Like Swamp Thing is a very introspective character, because he spends a lot of time just sitting around in his swamp.
Yeah, that's what I'd feel like.
Until some kind of fucking moth monster shows up, and then he takes care of that and goes back to thinking about
I feel like,
things.
do you want to join the Justice League? And he's like, do you see a fucking swamp on that plane? No.
I'm
I
sorry,
gotta sit here.
Am I wearing a mossy cape right now? No, I'm not. I got shit to deal with here.
He's like, look, man. Yeah, they go over, they talk to Swamp Thing, and they're just like, dude, he's such a fucking bummer. He's like, I thought Wayne was a bummer. Really? Like, he's always talking about his fucking dead parents and shit.
damn.
But Swamp Thing, man, oh.
Well, because Swamp Thing's whole thing is like, I'm not human anymore, and I have no time for your petty shit.
Like, every time they go talk, they're like, oh, we really got to go talk to Swampy again. He's going to
Why are
start
you
getting...
working my swamp?
Oh, God.
Was once a man.
We know. It's just like, I imagine Superman's like, look, we all lost our parents, Bruce. Shut up. Just shut up. We know they were shot in an alley or some shit by some guy. Great. Don't fucking care. All right? We've heard it. I mean, I do care. Now, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. But please, Bruce, we've had enough.
It is kind of odd to look at that. Almost every character in superhero comics has lost their parents, and he's the one making the biggest deal out of it.
I just feel like Superman's like, look, dude, I did too. I got sent to a different planet, you know? Fuck that shit.
You know, Shazam's parents are dead too, and he's smiling. He's having a Diet Coke. He's okay. You know, like, things are looking up now. You know, he's doing okay with it.
Maybe a catchphrase. That's what you need, Bruce, right? Huh?
I know everyone grieves their own way and everything, but shit, the Flash is able to smile once in a while. He's not bringing the room down.
I want him to be like, okay, Bruce, look, next time, let's do a little, maybe not dress in black, you know? Maybe let's spice it up a little. Give you some colors.
Do you still the
right?
blue and gray? That looked all right.
And then we'll give you a catchphrase. Every time you're going to jump in a battle, you know, have fun with it, you know? Let's come up with some catchphrase.
Okay, I'll try this. My parents are dead.
No, Bruce, God damn it.
Did I mention that they're dead? What? It's true. They're dead.
So as Heather is just in her fucking store,
Talking
right?
about transcendental therapy and we're doing all kinds of hacky shit about.
She's just like
people in
basically
Malibu.
ready.
Oh, she won't stop. She's vamping like Elvira in every scene.
Yep, and she just is annoying this lady that works there.
Eunice is the name of the woman who's there, who's eating like beans out of a can, like she like
hobo style.
Hobo style, like she's sitting in a boxcar.
Yeah, and then Heather Locklear just kind of runs out. She's like, "All right, take care of the store for me. Bye." And she's like, "All right, whatever."
And she mentioned that her plants. This is where we get the T.J. Hooker joke, because she mentioned that the plants like to watch TV. They love that guy on T.J. What's his name?
Zing, zing, zing. So then we go to a big mansion, and so then we get to, is I just right, evil dude.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a Swamp Thing aficionado. I just know him as evil dude.
Arcane,
okay.
He's the worst.
So Luis, he is the worst. He was so pissed.
In every way.
But I did say, though, when he goes to his lair, it's pretty sweet, because he, like, operates, like, this candlestick, and this door opens, and then he goes down.
Yeah, he's got the Addams Family, like, trick doors and everything.
Yeah.
And only instead of leading to, like, the Addams Family basement, it's basically Gizmonics Institute from Mystery Science Theater.
It's awesome.
I thought Dr. Forrester was going to be down there in his green jacket.
Wynorski said that almost all the budget went to the sets, and that this dude just went wild with the sets and the costumes.
Like, I was really...
There's only like 3 locations on this whole movie, so he was like, yeah, everything went to building those sets and the monsters. So Evil Lair, apparently they're making... Okay, now here's where we get into it. They say they're trying to reverse the aging process, but somehow their experiments all turn into Brundlefly.
Like, how... Well, I mean, yeah, all their experiments, in hopes of figuring out how to reverse the aging process, they're splicing human DNA with animal DNA.
Yeah, which
doesn't... Every animal they can.
Doesn't make sense.
No.
It's just like, all right, what are we doing in the movie? They got to have some sort of evil plan, right?
He's making animal people...
Yeah,
okay,
that sounds good, but he's got to have a reason to make animal people. Like, does he want to make a perfect man? Is he like a Hitler, like wanted to make like a human race?
It's also problematic in that you can't be like, well, he's trying to find the cure for cancer.
Yeah.
Well, then we sympathize with this guy a little bit.
Yeah.
He's not really an asshole.
Well, that would be like
if he's trying to cure cancer.
That would be like a Deep Blue Sea when they're like, we are trying to cure Alzheimer's from shark brain, and they're like, how does that work? And she's like, shark don't get Alzheimer. Oh, okay.
Have you thought about that?
You got me there, right?
Check and mate.
Because I remember that scene where Samuel Jackson's like, all right, got it. I guess that's
Sure.
Are you cool
You
with
know
that,
what?
audience?
Fine.
We're good. Ready? Shark attack. Do it. Cut off what's...
Like, why did Dr. Moreau do it?
Well...
What was his
Marlon
reasoning?
Brando sure has reasons for doing
Yeah.
it. He'll explain it to you in all 40 minutes that he just rambles on with his little...
Now that is some great behind the scenes. If you ever get a chance to see the Lost Soul documentary, Richard Stanley, who had such a bad time that eventually, in a moment of exasperation, he climbed a tree and would refuse to come down.
Yeah. And apparently was an extra on the movie.
Yeah.
That he would hide in the set.
It's a
Watch
great-
that documentary.
it's a great,
absolutely
great
insane.
documentary. One of the best, I think, as
Also,
far as
his
documentaries
early
on
movies
movies.
are really cool. So
Richard Stanley?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Seal
I
of
have
approval.
them. They're awesome.
Hardware?
Yeah, I
Was
have
it
the
Dust
Blu-ray
Devil,
of
the other one?
Hardware. It's really cool. So yeah. So the doctor tells the evil dude. So then we have asthma doctor, right? And he's like, "Hey man, these experiments are going real shitty. Everybody just keeps turning into some sort of animal, man."
And we get a good pan around the lab showing the different things that we're working on. We got like an elephant guy, got a mustache zombie.
None of this makes sense, Bobby.
No.
They're trying to reverse the aging process by combining man DNA with animal DNA.
At one point, Peter Boyle gets turned into a dog.
Yeah, yeah. Check out our Patreon episode. So none of this makes any sense to me.
No.
I'm just like, they needed an excuse for why there's manimals.
Definitely manimals. Rob Schneider's probably running around in the background. And we get to one in particular. And he's like, "So what do we got here? Cockroach guy." You know,
Yeah.
And the cockroach guy's like, "Please kill me." And so they do. They have a big bug zapper. They
Okay,
sit
and
you
then
in a
the other thing,
chamber.
is he's like, "All right, kill this thing."
He's like, yeah, like in this whole lab, he's like, "This one's fucked up. Kill
Yeah.
it."
And also, the way they kill it is the most inefficient way possible, is they put him into a giant, which takes up half the lab, that you put him in there and it disintegrates him.
Yeah.
I'm like, you ever heard of fire? Like, just fucking burn it. Like,
How
it's the
about
same
put a
thing.
bullet in this thing and bury it?
Yeah, or just cremate. Like, get an oven.
Throw him in the swamp.
Yeah, exactly.
It worked with Dr. Holland.
From whence he came.
Yeah.
You know? So, but yeah, I was like, man, you guys spent all your budget on the incinerator and none of the budget on actually trying to figure out how to reverse aging. So,
Sounds about
as we
right.
go on, the experiments make no sense.
No. Nothing
so,
does.
Then what happens is we go to the mansion and like this cop is here, this great character actor,
Larry the
cop.
Cable Sheriff.
Because he's like, yep. So there's all these crazy people walking around your property the other day.
You're doing this right.
One of them said he got attacked by some sort of slugman.
You know anything about a slugman?
And Louise is like, is this fuck? I don't care.
What? I wasn't there for that scene. I didn't read that.
And he's like, are you Louise? What's his name from that movie, Gigi? An octopus?
Weren't you an octopus?
Boy.
Sorry, I can't even say it. I laugh every time.
So yeah, they're basically nothing happens.
A whole lot of sitting around.
There's some people dying on your property. And he goes, no, I don't think so.
Good enough for
And
me.
he's like, you know what's not suspicious to me is the fact that you got like this whole militia thing going on out here. Are these slaves on this plantation? Like, you know that you're not allowed to have them anymore, right? I mean, wink, wink. We're not allowed to have them anymore. But it sure looks to me like you're still running a plantation.
Look, I ain't trying to tell you what to do, though I am the authorities. But you need to be subtle.
Like, we'll explain it now, is that Arcane has a mansion where he has militiamen who patrol the yard.
Armed, fatigued guards.
Armed to the
I don't mean
teeth.
tired. I mean wearing fatigues.
Armed. Well, not in like camo fatigues. They're in like orange jumpsuits.
Okay, not fatigues, but they're uniformed.
They're either like prisoners or slaves. In that he like keeps them on this property. I'm like, do these guys have homes? Because they're always there.
It is a
and, like,
mansion. There's a lot of rooms.
yeah, and also there's a part where he's playing an organ really late at night. I'm like, man, fucking worst roommate on earth, right?
Seriously,
And, like,
it's
what are
not
you gonna-
worth the cheap rent?
Yeah, you're like, you can't tell the boss to shut up. You just got to deal with it. And it's a pipe organ that goes through the whole house, by the way. So,
Christ.
so yeah, basically he says, yeah, hey, nothing's bad here. It's all good.
How are you?
And then the cop just has to endear himself to Jim Wynorski by hitting on all the women.
Perfect.
Because there's a part where the scientist lady comes up and she's like, I work on jeans. And he goes, hey, she can get in my jeans anytime. Am I right? Hey-o!
Up top, high five.
And Louise just gives him a look like, That's great, Jim.
Which probably wasn't even in character. It's
That's
just
great.
Louis Jourdan being like, what the fuck?
Thanks a lot, Jim.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that.
So then Heather Locklear's riding some sort of swamp cab.
Yeah, we got a wacky cab driver with a panda hat.
And at this point, I'm like, well, she didn't say she was going to the swamp, right? Because I'm like, if you took a wrong turn and you're here, I'm like, she's going to die, right?
Oh, undoubtedly.
Well, she's in some cab, some real, the worst Uber you've ever been in style thing. With like, this guy's got like freaking Christmas lights and shit, like rigged up around the place and everything. And he's got some crazy hat on telling her stories. I'm like, she's going to die, right? Like, she's going to the
This is the beginning of a slasher movie.
Yeah, she's going to 2000 Maniacs Town, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We're having the Centennial in the swamp. The Swamp-tennial.
So then we go back to the cop and the evil dude.
Can you
and
imagine? I just want to take a second to think
the
about that.
Swamp's
Swamp's going to rise again.
Oh, no, please no. Yeah, well, all the manimals will come out.
Got Slugman running around.
No. So then back to the cop and the evil dude. He's like, hey, I know we're cool and all, and I'm fine with all the guns and the militiamen and the potential that they're all slaves. I'm fine with it, okay? But I do need to look around just to see as a formality if there's any, like, dead guys on the property or nothing, And he's like, yeah, that's fine. Here, let this incel guy take you around. As we'll get to, oh, man, this guy.
This guy's great.
Woo! Great.
A great character to have.
The great character.
I'm not saying I agree with the man. I'm just saying he's a great character.
It's like the killer in 10 to Midnight found a new job.
Yeah.
Like he's so he goes, well, I don't want to be led around by some penis. How about one of the other parts? The other gender? So one of these pretty ladies? And Luis is like, fine.
Whatever.
So then Heather goes, okay, the evil dude is my stepfather. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's news to me. Thanks.
Yeah. Just drops it in.
I'm like, why are you here?
That's her thing. You're probably wondering why I'm here.
Yeah.
The bad guy's my
everybody
stepdad.
is. It's 20 minutes in the movie, and she just shows up into the movie. Like, the first thing we saw was Heather Locklear, like, getting ready and then traveling to the set.
Like, she might as well have broken the fourth wall. Hi, I'm Heather Locklear, and we've had a lot of fun here so far. You're probably wondering why I'm in this movie.
Yeah, that's my stepfather, and I haven't been here in 10 years, and I still don't know why I'm here. Apparently, it's to clear up my midlife crisis that I'm going through at, like, 23. I don't
Maybe
know.
that's what's going to happen. Maybe not. Let's find out. And then just goes back into the scene.
And then she's like, hey, stepfather. And he's like, oh, great. And he says something to his people at first. He's like, she looks just like her mother. We can use her. I go, okay. Something to do with the manimal thing.
Sure. And this is also about when we start getting the explanation of them trying to reverse the aging process to stay vital.
Well, here's the thing is, like, when she gets introduced to him, she's standing out in front of this plantation house. Like, this is fucking Candyland from Django. She's standing out, and there's militia dudes everywhere with guns, and not at any point does she, like, is something dangerous going on around here or something? Because this is really, like, is this normal? And then I just write, I thought at this point it was Florida. And I was like, 0 for 3. My bad. It's Georgia.
Close enough.
0 for 1. Prove me wrong, Georgia. Prove me wrong.
Balls in your court, Georgia.
So then asthma scientist says something about how they want to reverse the aging process. Yes, Bobby. And they explain that, no, we're actually doing good work because, like, kind of like, look, the Nazis also did experiments on people that were like, they had some good ideas, and
both sides.
Yeah.
Good people on both sides.
Eventually, by the way, the Nazis became the American space program because we did move all those, believe it or not, it's true, that we moved all those scientists into NASA and they built us a rocket and went to the moon, right? So it wasn't all that bad, huh?
Hey, the ends justify the means. Can't make an omelet without killing a few million people.
Yeah, so they're doing God's work, Bobby. They're reversing the aging process. It's all great. It's a real Dr. Moreau type of thing.
Absolutely, no, it's unapologetically just doing that.
Yeah.
I will say though, Arcane has a Haunted Mansion style portrait of himself, and I'm jealous.
Oh yeah, they did. So on the dark and stormy night, they show the
this massive. Is this stretching?
Yeah, they have his portrait, which Jim Wynorski says it showed up on set, and he was disappointed. He was like, I thought it would look better. And they were like, the other people in the commentary, like, no, it looks great, man. He's like, it wasn't what I expected. So then we go to Uncle Shed's, where the byway meets the bayou.
All right.
Which was a real fishing camp, apparently, where we get our two other characters.
I have named them the Swamp Goonies.
The Swamp Goonies. One of them is one of the greatest child actors in any movie. This chubby kid is
Redneck
just
Chunk?
so fucking great.
He's amazing.
Every line he delivers, by the way, is just amazingly inept. Like, he is so bad at acting, but it's so good.
It kind of becomes its own form of acting.
Yeah.
And, like, you no longer think it's bad.
It's just him.
You're like, this is great.
Like, you could tell he showed up to set, like, one of the funniest things you'll ever see is if you watch the behind the scenes of the Phantom Menace stuff, Star Wars Episode 1, where they go through the casting process, and they get all these kids in, and some of these kids just killing it, you know? And then you get Jake Lloyd, and he's like, I'm a Jedi! And you just cut to George Lucas. He goes, I really think that Lloyd kid has it all.
This one's perfect.
Yeah, he's great. And you see the producers and all the yes men kind of look at him like...
They're all dabbing their sweat with their ties.
Yeah, they're like, you're
fucking with this, right?
For real? Yeah, no, I think he's great. He's got a raw talent.
And the weird thing about that is, like, did these guys not watch Star Wars? Yeah, that's what he's looking for.
Well, yeah.
That's the style. That's what all of these movies
That's what Mark
are
Hamill did. I'm a Jedi!
Basically.
Great, Luke.
I'll never join you. No! It's all the same shit,
but this kid, like, you could tell he showed up to the tryout, and Wynorski was cracking up, just laughing his ass off. Like,
this fat kid's the best.
This is it. This is the kid. He's gonna make the movie. And
having been a fat kid myself when I first saw this, I related so hard to this kid. I felt like I finally had an avatar.
And here's the thing about these two kids, by the way. And the other kid is great too.
He reminded me a lot of Reggie the Reckless from Friday the 13th 5.
Oh, yeah.
That kid?
Yeah.
The one who makes it through the whole film? So, yeah, I have Redneck Chunk and Reggie the Reckless. That's the two Swamp Goonies.
The thing about it is, like, he's great, but the fat kid overshadows him because he's so bad.
Well, you need Abbott and Costello. Laurel and Hardy.
The one kid can act is the problem.
Yeah.
And the chubby kid can't.
Can just say his lines.
Yeah, he just screams every line.
But he's fucking hysterical every time.
Because he's like, yeah, that swamp thing. So here's the thing I love about this is that they are just like real kids. Because
they're doing everything that we did when we were kids.
It's true, though, is that he comes over to the kid's house. So the chubby kid comes over, and he's like, hey, let me into the shed. And he comes in, and he's like, are your parents gone? He's like, yeah, they're at bingo. They're not going to be back for a while. And he's like, all right, pull out the porn mags.
And they're like, first they're like, you want a drink? And he goes, you got any of the hard stuff? And then they cut to them drinking Coke.
Yeah,
like,
great.
Soda.
Yeah.
And they're pulling out the pornos.
Which apparently in the commentary they're like, yeah, it was a real tricky thing because we had to find magazines where there wasn't actual naked ladies. And he's like, good luck trying to find hard than soft magazines.
In 89.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're going for it.
Also, when they opened one of them, was it Linda Blair?
No.
I swear to God.
It was 89. Everyone looked like Linda Blair.
I know, but when he pulls out a centerfold, I was like, is that you, Linda?
like, is she trying to speak to me?
Are you sneaking our way into Swamp Thing?
Wouldn't that be something? It's the return of Linda Blair. Now, do you have any, pardon me if this is too personal, do you have any experiences like this from your childhood?
Well, if you listen to our Vice Squad episode, you'll hear all about finding porno in the woods.
Fantastic.
So
I'm assuming that's something that almost every young boy has experience with.
And did you also just find it in the woods?
I've done that. I've found porn in the woods, in alleyways and stuff like that.
We all find it.
I've also had similar to these boys' experience. One time at summer camp. This isn't going where it sounds like it's going. A friend brought a bag that no one had checked, and then we ran off to the woods, and he pulled all of his dad's magazines out that he brought with him, and we spent a bunch of time just flipping through these, oh my God, will you look at that?
And the best part about this story, Bobby, this dad, kicking back, goes, you know what? The kid's gone. The wife's at the store. I'm gonna go check out some of those magazines I got. Haven't had a chance to look at these in a while. Goes downstairs, opens the box,
and there's just there's the dust missing from one part of the shelf,
and he's
a little negative image of where the magazines once stood.
Has the shock of either she found them, or that son of a bitch.
He just quietly turns and his eyes are welling up with tears. This is it's not fair.
Yes, there was all the time in the world.
There was time now. It's not fair.
Man, this is 89.
He's just like, no.
Look, this is 89. Porn is hard to come by. Like, this is something you either got to, you got to take a deep breath and walk into that liquor store, the one not close to your house.
Right.
You know?
You gotta earn it.
Like, can you imagine the time when, getting bored was, an adventure? Like, you'd have to, literally, you had to make a commitment to go out and find it.
I mean, yeah, I'm fortunate. I think I'm fortunate that I was too young to be that creep.
Yeah.
Not that I consider myself a creep now or anything, but, I don't know. I think it's because it's so readily accessible now that it doesn't seem as exciting.
Yeah.
Or maybe because I'm 35.
Yeah.
And, but I'm saying also, I assume kids today, it's not as exciting of a thing as it was when we were little kids.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real...
There's no barriers anymore. There's nothing keeping you away from it.
Yeah. You know us. For millennials only, right?
Exactly. Isn't that right, fellow millennials?
All you millennials who listen to the show, right?
Yes. You know how much millennials love movies from the 70s?
Mm-hmm.
That's all they care about.
Yep. So then...
about that. It's funny how the media and a lot of people, they talk about millennials, and I feel like when they talk about it, they're picturing a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
That's not a millennial.
It's like, excuse me, sir. Us people in their 30s are also millennials.
We are millennials, you and I, and we are barreling toward 40.
Mm-hmm.
All the things you associate with us aren't even fucking true anymore.
What is the cutoff? 18 or something?
For being a millennial?
Yeah.
The youngest a millennial can be right now? I don't know for sure. I know, we start at 1980.
I know that I have nothing in
years.
common with anybody in their 20s.
That's the thing. It's for that, we're the weird gray area between a Gen Xer and a millennial.
Yeah. For millennials only.
That's the truth. That's our new slogan.
Yeah. We're gonna the Grindbin podcast for millennials only.
That's right.
Exclamation point. Get out. It's our He-Man Woman Haters Club,
Yeah, we're
Get out of here,
we're very
boomers.
exclusionary around here.
Gen X, fuck you, Tanner. Get out of here, right?
We only bring on Tanner just so we can ridicule him.
That he is a young Gen Xer, because he's really on the bubble.
Yeah, we're on opposite ends of the same fence.
Yeah.
We're just looking at each other through the chain links.
How's it over there? And he's like, it's still just as bad.
It's the same.
Yeah. I still don't have a home either.
Exactly. I can't afford anything and I'm working 2 jobs.
This is great, though, is they're looking at the porn mags, right? And then all of a sudden there's a knock at the door, like, shit, put it all away. And this kid has got a collection, man. Yeah. He's got 20 of them.
Oh, he went for it.
And you know what's really funny is that later in the movie, when Asthma Guy looks at porno magazines, he seems to have the same collection. Literally the same collection.
I did not notice that.
If you look, they're the same exact magazines. They just reused it for another scene.
Why not?
Which I thought was very
funny. Who's going
funny.
to notice that but you, Mike Wood?
Well, there was a big picture of a red lips on one of the cover, and I noticed the exact same red lips right away. I was like, huh.
Are they the same red lips that are controlling the monkey's house?
Might be. So they crack open some Coke cans. Yeah, they look at them. So knock at the door.
Until the pound at the door happens.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, shit. And they think it's his parents. I'm like, if it's your parents, they'll walk in.
Yeah, parents don't usually just sit there and pound on the door.
Yeah.
Maybe Fred
warning,
Flintstone.
Put your dicks away. I'm coming in,
You know what? That's a fair warning.
That would be a nice courtesy, but no, parents don't do that. They just barge in.
Personal story.
No.
She doesn't listen to this anyway, so it doesn't matter. I was raised by my grandma, and I was never caught in any kind of compromising position or anything, but I got the impression that she really wanted to catch me doing something like that, just to embarrass me.
Yeah.
Because she would kick my bedroom door open like she was doing a drug raid.
Just
There
every
was
now
no
and then,
knock.
you're
There
just
was
hanging
never
out.
any kind of slow opening of the door. It'd be like, Bobby. No, it was always just like, boom, what are you doing in here? And I'm like, nothing. I'm playing a Nintendo.
Yeah, I'm doing my homework. She's like, oh, really? Actually doing it? And looks over and she's like, all right, well, these math problems are complete. Good for you.
All right, but I'm watching you.
Full long division, I see.
You so much as think of a tit and I'll be here.
What, that looks like a boob. Oh, it's a 0. Never mind. Good. It's all right. It's all right. Okay. Let me see that calculator. Did you write 8008? Let me see it.
Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I did. I'll take what I can get.
Remember when that was a thing?
58008.
Yeah, and you're like, hey. Still doesn't
Or if you
really look like the word.
5318008, so you can say boobies.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I
You
remember
did it,
these
dude.
things.
You did it.
Of course I did it. Everybody did it. Everyone who says they didn't do it's a goddamn liar.
No, we all did it. So then I do like this is they open the door and it's the
It's Slugman.
The Slugman. It's like Slugsworth in
he wants the recipe for the everlasting Gobstopper.
Yeah, and so they open the door and I love this. They go, ah, and then just shut the door.
It's pretty great.
And then
It's very Abbott and Costello. It's
Yes.
very like old school.
and then just like the Mummy, he just kind of like kicks down the door.
Yep.
And then walks in and they're like, oh my God. And then they throw a bowling ball through a window, jump out.
It's his dad's bowling ball. As if dad's not having a hard enough time.
Yeah, and
No, first
also
his porn's gone, and then his prize bowling ball is
also
going
it,
crash.
it doesn't matter. It's just a bowling ball.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
It hits
The windows
things for a
weren't
living,
burning.
you know? Yeah, so then they like go outside and then all of a sudden Swampy's here,
And
right?
again, there's no like hero pose. He just sort of comes into frame like he's been there.
Yeah, and we get, man, it's Monster Central around here tonight.
What is this, Monster Central Station?
Yeah, but it's the chubby kid, so he goes, man, it's like Monster Central Station around here.
You have expect them to leave in him turning and go, Mr. Wynorski, did I do a good
Right?
job?
Keep looking, kid, look at Swampy. So
And,
then,
the first fight, we didn't really talk about how they fight. This is some WWF shit.
oh yeah,
Like, we're having a pro wrestler fight. Like, they were doing double axe
Mm-hmm.
handles. We're doing, like, I expected, like, a atomic drop at some point.
and if there's one thing, in the commentary, there's the editor. She says to Wynorski, she goes, "If there's one thing I know about Jim, it's he loves a good explosion."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yes, I do." So he has about 50 in this
It's
scene.
insane. So first they each grab pipes because round 2 of the Kumite needs to go up the ante.
Yeah.
So we're having a pipe sword fight basically, and then every car starts exploding for no reason.
Yeah, and then the one kid, the black kid, says, "Damn, some insurance man is gonna mess his pants," which I thought was a good one.
This kid's wonderful.
And so the Swamp Thing and the monster blow up every damn car in the building
They do,
and the building.
and the Bugman.
Yeah.
The
Slugman.
Slugman gets set on fire and runs off into the swamp.
And also, I do like it when the fat kid goes, "Man, what an awesome fire!"
Man, what a great fire! Shut up! They got my mom's car too!
Mr. Wynorski, it's fine. Look straight. Keep looking.
So good.
How many times in the editing room do you think the editor was like, he looked at the lens again?
He's talking right to the camera.
And this is 89. They're going by film. You know what I mean? There's no non-linear editing system.
what
Like-
a waste.
Then
So yeah, the Slugman runs off into the river. Crisis averted.
he says, by the way, interesting fact, the editor fixed this scene is that he ran into the water and there was nothing. So she went out and filmed a new explosion to mix it in. Because
Really?
he originally didn't explode when he landed in there. So she filmed the explosion and mixed it so that Swampy would come out of like smoke and it would cut together.
Huh.
And it is a great effect.
Well done. It looks
Yeah.
cool. And so everyone starts giving a thumbs up to each other.
Yes, and also the chubby kid goes, "Yeah, I think that green dude's good." Is he good?
Was that good?
Just look,
Mr.
kid,
Wynorski?
when I say cut, that's when you can turn towards me. Keep looking forward.
I will tell you if it isn't good.
Is that good, Mr. Lucas? Mitochlorian? So, what's that part when he's like, "You ever heard of angels?"
Are you an angel?
Newspaper.
Kid's got day game.
Okay, love this. There's a newspaper headline. Local resort goes boom.
And then the smaller headline under there says, local boys tight-lipped.
But it's funny because they're not tight-lipped at all. The picture, it looks like they're going, whoa! Like,
And then Swamp Thing came out. Nope. Boys didn't tell us anything.
I feel like they would have spilled the beans.
Oh, no question.
For sure. Look, this fucking green dude and everything. And they're like, it's some movie they saw.
Like, Reggie maybe can keep his secret. There's no way Chunk can.
So do you think, though, they would think that the kids blew up everything? Because I think they would.
Little
They'd be like,
arsonists.
So these kids blew up all these cars, right? Because there ain't nobody else
Well, they
here.
went into some kind of porn-fueled rage.
Yeah.
Because, that's
Exactly.
what happens. Rots
Yeah.
your brain, makes you psycho. Mm-hmm. And
They were hitting the hard stuff.
Mhm.
They had that Coca-Cola.
this is textbook.
Yeah.
This is exactly how it goes down.
You just see
In Georgia, anyway.
Yeah, you just see
right,
Bronson,
Georgia listeners?
Bronson shows up. He goes, cocaine, porno.
Porno.
Think we know where this went. Lock them up, boys.
I'm looking for a Mexican.
Yeah, that was it.
Wait, that's not Mexican Coke, is it? Okay. Well, there goes that theory.
He goes onto the scene and he sees a Coke bottle. He goes, Mexican Coke.
He's tasting it real quick. He's like, nope. I got to start over. My hunch is wrong.
Give me high fructose. So helicopters, ATVs, fan boats. The helicopter footage was bought from another movie in the Philippines. It had nothing to do with this movie. And if you look
Fantastic.
very closely, you can tell it's the Philippines. It has nothing to do with the Georgia swamp.
Wow.
But Wynorski says they got it cheap. And it was cheaper than renting a helicopter and throwing dynamite into the water. Because also that makes no sense. I don't know why they were throwing dynamite. ATVs, fan boats, everyone's looking for the monster. Nothing. Heather and Evil Dude, what's his name again?
Arcane.
Arcane. I'm just going to keep calling him Evil Dude till you fix it.
Don't worry about it.
They're going to dinner. They're having I don't know, some sort of date or something. This is getting weird.
They're an estranged daughter and stepfather.
Yes, but the last thing we hung on
to
was that she looked a lot like her mother and
Yeah.
everything. It's like, you can stop saying that. Just we're gonna have to talk about
You
that.
established that once. We're good. We don't need to
you don't have
bang
to.
on about
I get it. We don't need to keep going back to
Right.
it. So the militia guy comes back, the incel dude, right? And he's like, hey, we didn't find anything. Okay, thanks
Look,
for
the
that.
swamp thing can become one with the swamp.
Okay.
That's how he's able to disappear. And,
Well, that is
and
true,
reappear
yes,
whenever
he
wants
can,
to.
yeah.
We never really show him do it, but that's just one of the things he does.
He can apparently dissipate into swamp.
Just become
then
vines
reappear.
and rebuild his body and all that. We don't deal with it, but that's one of the things he can do.
So we learned that she hasn't been here in 10 years. Her mom died. There was no funeral, and she's basically here for no other reason than the script told her to.
We're on an exposition expedition.
She's like, Jim, what's my motivation? Heather, just,
Look, I'm already putting up with this little fat kid. I don't need you asking me if you're doing okay.
I feel like Heather wouldn't ask any questions. It would be Luis. Why is she here? Luis, can you just read your part of the...
She was your stepdaughter. You two were estranged. He just goes, ugh.
Why do I keep saying she looks like her mother? Luis, can you just do the scene?
Just say the lines, please.
Only one take, Jim. Cut. Check the gate as he just walks off set. Fucking asshole.
What a prick.
So I wrote, they literally couldn't come up with anything else. That was just it. They're just like, she's here because she's here.
Aha.
Nobody's going to ask the question why she's here, right? Everybody's going to be watching being like, when's that swamp guy come back, huh? What's he have to do? Yeah, exactly. Nobody cares about the Frenchman and his non-French daughter. Nobody cares.
Former stepdaughter.
Yeah, stepdaughter. Former stepdaughter. I like that. That's like some term you can use. Former. So I write maybe a letter. Maybe something with like false
Would have been at
pretenses.
least equally
Yeah, like play up the dramatic irony, the dramatic tension. Be like, maybe she gets a postcard. It says something like, we know something about your mother. Come to the mansion. You know what I mean? She's like, oh, this
As
is
you know,
interesting.
Jim Wynorski, famous for building dramatic tension.
No, as he would say actually in the commentary that he's famous for women showing cleavage.
Yes.
Is what he said specifically about this scene.
Perfect.
He says, there's my signature. Boobs. Like, thanks, Jim.
I love you, Jim.
Thanks.
Never change. You're
Because
the best.
that's when Ursa walks in and he goes, look, she's wearing one too. It's like, Jim.
Good Lord.
Jim, there is a woman in the booth, the commentary booth with you right now. Please.
Please be more cognizant of this.
And he was just bad-mouthing Harvey Weinstein. It's like, Jim, let's calm down, dude.
It's like, yeah, but I didn't do anything, so I'm all right.
I wasn't powerful enough.
God.
Well, that's... he was just very... He didn't hold back his creepiness.
He seems like the type of guy who would be like, look, I agree that it's wrong, but I get it.
Yeah.
Like, no, Jim,
No, Jim.
don't.
Jim? The scientist, that's when Ursa walks in, as Jim points out in her low-cut dress, which nobody was paying attention to, Jim.
Well, that's why
Nobody.
he pointed it out. He just wanted to go missed.
Yeah.
He worked hard on that.
Guys, you see that? It's me.
I feel like everyone's paying too much attention to the story, to see the boobs that I filmed.
Yeah, and speaking of which, this part of the story makes no sense. Is she's like, here's your mother's ring. And then she puts on the ring and she goes, ow, it cut me. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then they go, now we have her DNA.
Yeah, that's the whole point of that was they wanted to get a blood sample.
For what?
So they could test it.
For what?
For an experiment they want to do.
Because where does this lead?
To the swamp. Shut up, Mike.
Because as we see later, that blood does not come into play at all because you physically need the person there and not just some blood.
You know, Pat Robertson believes
Uh-huh.
that homosexuals
Mm-hmm.
in the San Francisco Bay Area have special rings that are designed to cut your hand when you shake hands with them. And as he puts it, those rings, they've got the stuff on them.
Yeah. So what you're telling me is that Pat Robertson at one point shook the hand of a man in San Francisco and he goes, I think I'm gay now. And they're like, Pat, are you...
He tried to give me the gay.
Yeah.
No, he thinks that...
That's his excuse?
That they have bladed AIDS rings.
Jesus.
And they're going around shaking hands with straight people trying to give them AIDS.
You know, maybe for Pat they do.
You know,
Maybe for Pat.
couldn't happen to a nicer guy. It's quite
You
the
know,
clip
you
to see,
talk
though.
like that and maybe...
Like, I don't wish anything like that upon anybody. But if I did, I know who I'd pick.
It's all right, we'll cut it out. So Bobby says leave it in.
What, you worried Pat Robertson's going to listen to this episode?
One of their patrons, Pat Robertson, Grindbin All-Star.
Oh, shit. I forgot that he
Yeah.
donates.
He just requested that we do cruising. Strange choice, Pat. That's a real...
Hey, you know what? God bless.
Yeah, you know, we're ready. Pacino was. So Heather runs out to the swamp, and the militiaman, the incel militia guy is like, hey, that's a bad idea. Also, you're a lady, so I don't like
Right.
you. I do like you, but I also am enraged by the fact that you have breasts.
By the way, there's a great vamping moment that Heather Locklear has when she meets the leader of the squad of goons, because he tries to be smooth and he goes, "Enchanté," and she goes, "On parole is more like it."
Hey!
I feel like Elvira could have delivered all these.
Elvira could have been a great as Heather Locklear.
How
in this
great would
movie.
it have been if
Oh
Cassandra
my
Peterson
God,
was in that
that's
role?
what they should have done.
Nothing against
Holy
nothing against
shit.
Heather Locklear. She's great in this, but
Wynorski, you had your fucking opportunity. This would have been a freaking classic if you had Elvira, the character of Elvira.
because you only have to clear it with Cassandra Peterson. It's her character.
Exactly. You hire her as the Heather Locklear character.
Arcane's former stepdaughter shows up,
That
and
would
it's
have been
fucking
amazing.
Elvira.
Yes, and that would have been so great because you could have had the Elvira Swamp Thing movie
Oh, it'd be great.
where she could have done all her like little one-liners and everything. And
Man, you know what? Fuck this movie. Because it's not that movie.
it was almost there.
Oh, I liked it
Seriously,
until just
'cause
now.
the Elvira movie was not great. I think we all agree that the Elvira movie. Oh boy,
I have a soft spot in my heart for
because you
that
saw
movie.
it when you were young.
I watched it all the time when I was young. It was one of those I had on heavy rotation.
Uh huh.
And
Was it for any particular reason?
I was
or?
very young, Mike. I was like 5.
Okay. Okay.
So too young to understand such things, but I would say that's the first woman I ever fell in love with. Before I was even old enough to understand, I was just fascinated with Elvira.
You could never tell why, but
I didn't understand it, but I really was drawn to her for
Yeah.
some reason. And I think Jim Wynorski and I would have plenty to talk about.
that would have been a perfect casting, though. Goddamn. So then we get to the Moonshiners. We finally get to meet them.
I didn't think we'd ever actually see him.
So Wynorski said that these are just 2 character actors from Georgia, and they were.
You know what? It worked for
crazy.
2000 Maniacs.
Yeah, he said they were great though, and they were just going full on, and he just kind of let them run wild with it. And so they're talking about how they want to do something new tonight because like we hate just doing the same things.
They're
He's like,
so
what do you want
bored
to
with
do?
their swamp life.
He goes, you want to steal a car? He's like, no, we do that all the time. And he goes, you want to run over some dogs? He's like, I'm tired of running over dogs.
So what does he want to do, Mike?
Well, he says, I want to go kill something, which is
Put
yeah.
it right out there. I feel like killing something.
Yeah, hell yeah. You know, when you get that feeling,
In your bones.
yeah, you just got to do it, man. You know, there's not much going on in the Georgia swamp, right?
Yeah, I'd like to think we wouldn't turn to killing things, but you don't know. We haven't had to live that life.
You never know. You know?
We're these coastal elites out here in the West.
Exactly.
What do we know?
Just a bunch of California cucks, you know?
That's
We
true.
don't know anything.
It's true. We're sitting in our towers. Everything handed to us.
It's true. I do sit in a tower. So they say they should go into town and steal themselves a woman.
Oh, this is Seven Brides.
Yeah. Oh, no, they don't need to, because Heather Locklear just shows up.
Just walks right in.
Yep. And they're like, oh, great. I think one of them goes, there is a God. And she walks in. Because it is basically like you just now have like a music video girl that just showed up
Yeah. It's
in
like
your Moonshine movie.
It's like a Billy Idol video
Like,
in here.
holy shit. And so she's like, hey, do you know the way back to that plantation mansion thing? The one the murderer owns? They're like, oh, hey, let's go grab you. And then Swampy...
Great dialogue.
Swampy comes back. He comes to the rescue. The trucker hat guy says, this guy is Coleslaw.
Great.
Is he about to beat him up? Thanks, Jim. And then Swamp Thing beats them up. They run off. More pan flute.
All right. It's the Swamp Thing
real
theme.
Heroic, you know? It's like, you could imagine replacing this with like Kenny G, you know? Yeah, because it's like that every time you hear it. And then, man, Heather. It's called Fetishes Locklear.
Man, it is. She's
So
got that feeling.
She takes a hard look. She's looking at him.
She gives him a once over.
Oh, she's taking a tall drink. You know what I mean? She's looking head to toe. She likes what she sees, Bobby.
And she
She's
says
green
at one
all
point,
over.
You're a plant, aren't you?
And we just
To which
immediately
Swamp
go,
Thing should have been like, fuck you think, lady. Look at me.
When she says, you're a plant, are you? I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. And that's when it's a real
She should have been like, there is a God.
It is like a real Romeo and Juliet. Because he's like, who are you? And she's like, I'm Abby Arcane. And he goes, Arcane. And she's like,
Why did you say that name?
It's like, oh my God, he's like a fucking Montague or whatever that is.
This is very much like a Montague and a Capulet. You're right.
Yeah. And
So
then,
romantic.
He's like, well, she's like, well, no, I'm just his stepdaughter. I'm just kind of in town. I don't
I'm
really
not-
know
I'm not
why.
related
This guy
to
named
him.
Jim told me to get in a cab and come over here.
Look, the point is, I'm like lunch meat.
Yeah. I'm hard all the time.
Yeah. What kind of lunch meat you eat?
Salami.
Ha
So
I'm hard and dry all the time.
hard and dry all the time.
It's a Mike Wood guarantee.
Hard than soft. So he says like something about how him and his sister were working on a serum. So I guess his sister is Ursa. Is it?
No.
Right? No?
No.
Oh, I've never seen the first movie, so I just assumed that maybe
Right,
she's...
If I remember, I thought his sister died in the attack, in the explosion.
I don't know. Just like in Summer Sequel Month last month, I don't watch the first
Like any
movies.
proper superhero, he
Yeah.
lost everyone and everything.
Mhm.
And so basically, you know, his lab gets sabotaged, and he in the explosion gets propelled into the swamp, where he
Yes.
becomes one with the swamp. And we go over this with flashbacks using some footage from the Wes Craven movie and a little bit
And
of...
by the way, Wynorski said they had to buy it.
Of course.
They had to buy the footage from the first movie.
That's
it wasn't
sad.
just like they could get it. They had to fucking buy it from Wes Craven.
Like, they asked for it. He was like, how much?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
You just see him just, I don't want this guy. No.
Not exactly being a buddy right now, Wes. So he finishes his origin story.
Yeah. So the first movie wraps up.
Credits.
And he's like, wasn't this movie great? Not at
like-
all like this one.
Like, it was all right. It was a little,
Yeah, it's fine.
little self-serious for my taste.
Kind of like Craven, you know, it's always ups and downs, you know. Sometimes good, sometimes
People don't really like to mention that about Craven because he's passed on, so you don't want to speak ill of him. But, like, dude, he was hit and miss.
Oh, yeah.
He had a lot of duds, man.
I mean, I know a lot of people say that New Nightmare is great.
I
No.
actually really enjoy New Nightmare.
Oh, I couldn't stand that.
That's fair.
Like, it was too meta.
Actually,
for me.
by the end of New Nightmare, it goes off the rails.
It's like,
I'm cool with
let's
it up
fucking-
until...
Yeah, when, like, Robert Englund shows up.
Yeah, I'm all right
Like,
with that.
as himself.
My problem
and all
is
that,
once
I'm like,
once she goes chasing after him into the dream world, and we're doing the gingerbread house and the Hansel and Gretel and
No.
blah, blah, blah.
No.
Though my favorite part about this, no one talks about this. There's an implication in there that in the dreamscape, Freddy fought a dinosaur.
Huh.
Because Dylan has a stuffed T-Rex named Rex, who he says protects him when he sleeps. And there's the scene where you discover that Rex has 4 slashes through his body, meaning that Rex came to life and tried to protect Dylan against Freddy. Freddy fought a Tyrannosaurus, and you didn't show us this?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, he's hit and miss. So anyways, yes, he finishes his origin story, as you said, Bobby, and then all of a sudden the militia comes up and they hold...
The pink
Here's the
jumpsuit
thing.
guys.
They hold Heather with a knife, and I write, why? Wait, hold on. Wait, what are you doing? Don't kill her. You need her. Like,
This is a terrible idea.
Points runs up and puts a knife to her throat and goes, come with us. I'm like, Points, whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Like, did Luis not make it clear that he wants her alive?
This is why they call her Points.
Or, is there some sort of jealousy thing going on? She's like, I want to be in the experiment. How come you never let me?
I called it.
So they shoot at Swamp Thing. He runs off. They chase.
And when they're shooting at Swamp Thing, they yell, turn him into guacamole. This is great.
They also blow him up. So they blow up Swamp Thing.
Oh, yeah, that is a time when he uses his ability to reform via the swamp.
Yeah, and I've never seen it before. I'm like, oh, he's dead, I guess. They killed Swampy. No, he's fine. Because then it just shows some electrified remains that go down into the swamp, and from whence he came, he'll come back. So then we go to Lair. Heather's all pissed that they killed the Swamp Thing. And I'm like, now she's a prisoner. Bedroom, scientist lady and evil dude, Arcane. So they're called out of bed by the asthma scientist, right? He kind of interrupts date night.
Right.
Which it wasn't happening anyways.
Dr. Cockblock.
Because, Luis wasn't getting it up that night. You know what I mean? Because they're laying in the bed for a while, and she's like, is it okay now? And he's like, I don't think it's going to happen tonight. And then asthma guy knocks on the door. He's like, oh, thank God, it saved me.
Give you a raise, because I couldn't give her one.
It was one of those, this never happens,
Right.
This is the first time, I swear. He said that last week. So then they make... this is the weird thing is they look at each other and they're like, you need to leave, lady, scientist lady. And she's like, but I'm a scientist just like you. I work on the thing. I sleep with you. I'm part of the whole plan. And they're like, not this plan.
Right.
Leave. Man stuff now. Let the men talk. And she's fine. And he said something too. He's like, don't you need to take a bath? She's like, fine. Yeah. I do know that this Jim character told me I do have to wear a towel at some point. So
fantastic.
I guess I'll go do that scene.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Did you see the part? Yes, we saw it, Jim. It's great.
I supplied the towel. Great.
Yeah, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
I still have it. I don't.
I
Jim?
bet you do, Jim.
You can listen to the commentary for his comments about his ex-girlfriend that's in this movie.
Oh, man.
I will not repeat them here.
For the best.
Yeah, for the best, for sure. So they talk and they go, hey, did you know the plot?
Does anyone know what we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, they're like, I think something's going on. Then all of a sudden we cut to Swamp Remains and they're going through the mansion and a tube and stuff.
Exciting.
It's like, oh, okay. So then back to the conversation. I'm like, something's wrong. He asked for a raise. That's all. That's really all that happens in that scene. Is he's just like, man, things are fucked up. Science, science, science. Can I get a raise? Because this movie does just like in Dogs, where they'll go into science and they'll just say a bunch of complicated stuff, and Jim's just, that makes sound like a smart man, right?
Yeah, it's just a bunch of dweeby nothing.
Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, if you hit the brain waves with the... And he's like, yeah, see, at this point, every dumbass in the audience is like, Wynorski's a genius. He knows. That's right. So then we're in Heather in a jail cell, and this is when the incel guy is really putting on that charm, right?
Yeah.
And he says, bet that cell reminds you of L.A. because of all the slime and stuff.
It's a good one.
She's like, okay, I guess so. And then she seduces him. He falls for it because he's an idiot. And I said, Annie wears a stupid hat. Because nobody else is wearing that, Hell Squad cap
It's how
that
you
he has.
differentiate yourself in a crowd shot.
Use the Hell Squad cap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little something different.
Yeah. He also, as the movie goes on, progressively gets his shirt more undone, and man, he's wearing a full sweater.
Sure is.
Dude, I mean, if only my mane could be as full as this, It's like you don't even need to wear a shirt.
No.
Because, if you take it off, people are like, oh, he's still got something on.
Hey,
right?
I came in second in a hairy chest competition on a cruise ship last year to a man who was wearing more of a shirt when he took it off than when he had one on. I was like, well, I can't even. I'm nowhere near
But
that.
as you know, it's all about the pageantry.
It is.
know?
That's the only reason I even got second. I wasn't even like the 6th hairiest person on that boat.
Well, you're a ginger. They're not. Gingers are not known for being hairy. So
Not really. Not as much.
the scientist lady, she's taking that bath. We were promised a bath, and goddamn if Wynorski's not going to deliver. Am I
will
right?
follow through on that promise.
We're getting the bath, boys. Get them ready.
God.
And then everybody's like, oh wait, this is rated PG-13.
Oh, okay.
Is this like the only Wynorski movie that's like PG-13 where he was just like, can we just, come on, just get it off?
It's gotta be, right?
Oh yeah, because Chopping Mall sure isn't.
No, Chopping Mall's lair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be the only PG-13 one.
And could you feel him just like that thing on the set being like, God damn it,
just doesn't feel right.
ah, fuck.
You know he filmed it.
Oh yeah, he's like, Ursa, could you just please, Jim, don't call me that.
First of all.
I know you cast me because you enjoyed me in Superman. Let's not get into that, okay? No.
Jim? No.
Just in case we want to use it. Director's
Nope.
cut. Nope. And then, our boy Swampy's back. He comes through the drain of the tub.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And then I just write, the fuck? Because we just get a scene where, Arcane...
sludge is...
Oh, well, we get a scene where Arcane is now the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
And he's just playing a full house pipe organ.
He's not villainous enough. We need something more.
Yeah, which they say in the commentary that he didn't know how to play shit, so he's just moving his hands, and the composer was like, it was hard as hell to match that music.
I believe that.
Militiaman tries to show Heather around the lab. Here's the thing. They're going on their little date, right? This is the strangest date I've ever seen, is he takes her over to like a tank with a mutant fish.
Yeah, it's a piranha thing.
He goes, so here's this piranha thing, right? Why don't you put your hand in there? And he like forces her hand. I'm like, dude, that is not how you take a pretty lady on a date.
Hell no. It's a 2-finger touch in the touch pulls.
This is just like the 10 to midnight, dude. You know, it's like, I'm going to take you on a date into my van and I'm going to take it. It's like, no, calm
dude,
down.
You got to finesse it.
Damn it, Warren.
You always do this.
What if like the sequel to 10 to midnight, if Bronson didn't kill him, right?
If maybe he survived.
Instead, he survived, but
Maybe
then
that's
they
why
were
he's
like,
wearing the hat.
Bronson has to teach him how to, like, maybe Bronson takes a liking to him. He's like, look, I know you're just a bad kid.
You remind me
You're
of
a bad
myself.
seed. I need to teach you. And it's like kind of like some sort of like Hitch type of movie where he like, trains Warren in how
Charles
to
Bronson shows you how to be a pickup artist.
how to court a lady.
Wow.
And you see like Warren going on dates, and he starts talking about like, and then I'm gonna slice your Warren,
Warren, what did we talk about?
and he just holds up the jack off gun, and he goes, Warren, you want to go back to this? Eh?
I really like the idea of a sudden turn in his character and being like, these kids, they just need guidance.
He found the Lord.
I'm gonna put my gun back on the table, but just for now.
Warren, we're gonna make you right.
I can fix you, Warren.
Yeah, so he tries to shove her hand in a piranha tank. It's
What a
dude,
gent.
Okay. And then he goes, all right, I'm bored of this. Let's play doctor, huh? And then he just starts pushing her. It's like, dude, again, do we need to push her?
And she has a great response to this. She's like, okay, we can play doctor. Yeah, you want to know my favorite operation? A vasectomy.
Knees him in the balls.
Splits the uprights.
Yep. Love that part. Then she knees him in the balls twice, actually, and then he just chases her around the lab.
Yeah, because he and then, he starts claiming about his training. He's like, yeah, I got 10 years of training in Okinawa. And then she headbutts him and says, 2 days vacation in East L.A.
Hey!
Oh, man.
Also, I thought she's from L.A., so.
But she, not from East L.A. She's from Malibu.
Oh, this is the time when
so
nobody
she
from
spent
the
2 days in East L.A.
Well, this was the time when East LA was a shithole in 1989. So is this
around the time
true?
that Cheech Marin was being born there?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, but all those neighborhoods now are very expensive. Trust me.
Like
$1 million
everything.
and up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So he then, here's the thing. She gets away in the elevator, right? And she goes up to a floor, and all of a sudden Ursa's there, and she's like, hey, I got some car keys. Here's your escape. I'm like, wait, what? When did this turn happen? Again, Jim, please. So,
begging you.
Like, do you know what dramatic irony and dramatic tension is, Jim? These are devices that you can use to establish motivations for characters that the audience is questioning, but at the same time wants to know the no, he doesn't
Yeah.
give a fuck.
He's like, I understand dramatic tension. Is that blouse button gonna hold?
Will the towel fall? That's
Tell
it.
me I don't know
that's
dramatic
it.
tension.
He's like, talk about tension, right? My pants right now.
Things are feeling pretty
Jim,
tense.
you got to stop saying this in meetings.
Jim,
Jim, thank God we're on a conference call. And it doesn't
we're gonna
translate
go ahead
over
and
the phone.
mute Jim for a second.
Yeah, you just hear, by the way, tension in my pants. And they just meet him. Like, so about that poster. So then she gives Heather car keys. I write, this is all happening very fast, yet very slow, because we're like
Weird,
almost,
right?
like the movie's almost over.
But
And
nothing's
like
happening.
4 things have happened.
Yeah.
Then Swampy comes to life in the bathtub. Heather tries to escape. 2 men in their 40s that are part of the militia try to stop her. So, like, again, we're at the bottom of the barrel of Georgia character actors at this point. They're like, hey, yeah, we're some guys they just found. You know what I mean? We're like militia guys. We're the weekend shift, you know? Because these dudes are like freaking goons in a Bronson movie. Like, they're old.
It's just dudes in the background at Roadhouse.
Best part of Roadhouse, Ben Gazzara as the bad guy. It's like, well, I'm not intimidated by a man in his 60s that I could just kick him in the face. Like, but he does have that monster truck. So Swampy kicks a lot of ass, right? And then Swampy and Heather escape from the house. Great scene. Well, all sorts of explosions and everything. But here's the thing. So Heather now has become a cold-blooded killer as, like, this Contra level has started. And they get in the Jeep, and they're driving off. And Swamp Thing's driving with like a smile on his face. Heather grabs a shotgun, starts fucking offing everybody. Like 40-year-old militia dudes. She's just like, boom, boom.
Had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah. I mean, again, well, and the other thing
And
that
also
troubled
watching
me
Swamp Thing happily drive a Jeep.
Yeah, he's
is
just
all
like,
I need in this world.
What are you doing over there? Oh my God.
Fucking absurd. I just shot Marvin in the face.
Here's the thing. They want her alive, right?
Yeah.
So why are we shooting at the truck?
Right?
Yeah. I don't know. Fuck it.
They
That's what
freaked out
Jim's
when they
like.
saw Swamp Thing.
Shut up. Shut up. Nobody's paying attention to that. They're getting away from bad guys. Guns. And there's explosions and
we
everything.
get another Elvira-esque quip from her when she says, man, I just love it when guys peel out.
Yeah, that was...
It's a stretch.
It's like, what?
That one's a little rough.
Thanks, Jim. They get away, right?
Yeah.
And then Arcane comes out with the incel militia dude, and he's like, I was on a date with her. It's like, that's great, man.
A little weird, Arcane.
And then he finds like some goop.
I guess a piece of Swamp Thing fell off on the porch.
Yeah, and the guy's like, bet we can use this.
Like, I don't even want to think about what part of him this is.
Yeah. Well, as we'll find out soon.
Yeah.
I definitely don't. So then the kids are back, right?
Yeah, the Swamp Goonies want to try and get a picture of Swamp Thing.
Because the one kid, so the black kid's like, if we take a picture of him, it's $10,000. And the chubby kid's like, well, hell yeah, let's go take a picture of him.
Wouldn't
and
you?
He's like, well, the only thing is we need to borrow your dad's camera. He's like, God damn it, not my dad's camera.
Oh, his poor dad.
No, this time it's the chubby kid's dad.
Oh, right,
He's
yeah.
like, and then because the chubby kid's like, or well, the black kid's like, well, we took my dad's
Bowling ball.
He's like, well, that's different. And I mean, chubby kid's right. It's a little different. Like price of a camera and a bowling ball.
It's true.
You know, again. So then Swamp Thing and Heather have their date, right? Here's the thing. She wakes up, like, in a swamp, and she's like, oh, I slept so wonderful. Now, Heather Locklear is still, like, perfect hair, perfect makeup, everything. I'm like, you just slept in the swamp. You're going to wake up with, like, fucking mosquito bites all over your face and
this
shit.
This is a Jim Wynorski movie. She's going to wake up looking better than when she fell asleep.
And he's like, does that other button get unbuttoned? Who knows? You know?
Dramatic tension.
Maybe the swamp air did it, right? Thanks, Jim.
And she asks him if he's got a missus somewhere.
The first thing she does when she wakes up, because, you know, she wakes up ready to go, you know.
She's like lunch meat.
Mm-hmm. She's always hard.
It's true.
So she goes, is there a Mrs. Swamp Thing?
And he says, I'm a bachelor.
And she's like, oh, well, you know, my boyfriend here. And he's like, boyfriend? Whoa.
The Swamp Thing's like, hold on. This is going a little fast. I mean,
you know.
It's been a little while for me. I may need to...
Because then he also goes like, look, I can't give you the kind of love you want.
I like the Swamp Thing is immediately put off by thoughts of commitment.
Oh, well, I thought that was Jim being like, he doesn't have a dick to the audience.
Which is true.
He's like, don't worry, guys. He didn't got it. You know, you still got a shot with it. Jim, stop it.
Dramatic tension.
Yeah.
How's he gonna do it?
Yeah, how's he going to? And so then she says, oh, that's okay. And then he instead breaks off a plant dick,
Yeah.
which they say in the commentary, he's like, yeah, right. He breaks it off like he grew something.
Oh God.
I'm like, Jim?
His yeah, and so his version of Demolition Man sex.
That's exactly what I
is
wrote,
that,
Bobby.
they each take a bite of his swamp pickle.
Yeah.
They each take a bite of it, which is pretty kinky.
Yeah, that was, woo.
Like, hey, you're
right?
you're gonna take some too. You know what? I respect it.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Do whatever feels good, Swampy.
So here's the thing. They have the Demolition Man's love scene where we cut to like a fantasy of her making out with like a buff dude.
That's Alec. That's his human form.
Yes. Now, that is not the actor that plays Swamp
That's
Thing.
not Dick Durock.
And now here's a great story about this guy.
Okay.
Wynorski said this dude was a dick, raging asshole.
He was a swamp dick.
Yeah. He said,
I'm noticing a theme here.
Heather
every
Lock-
woman is just a joy to work with, and every man's a fucking asshole.
oh, no, he had nothing to say but good things about Dick. He said he was great.
Okay, good. Good.
And also Katie Skull's son said he was great. But he said that this guy was just some local model they hired. They paid him $100 to be in the movie, and the dude showed up and was like a total asshole to everybody and was like really conceited and thought he was like the best thing ever. And he was even like telling off Heather Locklear, like, you know, yeah, but you feel lucky and all this stuff. And she was like, she was a nice lady the whole time, you know, but afterwards she was like, that guy was a dick.
Wow.
So apparently when they were done shooting the scene, they just kicked him off set. They're like, here's your
Come
$100.
get the fuck
Get
outta
the
here.
fuck out of here.
Wow.
Yeah. Who would think like the random extra is going to be like a raging asshole? It's like, dude, shut up.
Jesus. Don't let the swamp hit you in the ass on the way out.
Like some guy getting $100 is going to do the friggin' hard sell on Heather Locklear. Like, bet you wish you could have this. Like, yeah. Okay. So we're in the lair lab, right? An asthma scientist is reading the same stack of pornos that the kids did, so he must have got it. Maybe the explosion happened and they kind of floated his way in the swamp. He's like, whoa, fucking jackpot.
Like one landed on the windshield of his Jeep on his way to work.
He's like, oh,
Hey.
I guess there is a God.
It's like, is that Linda Blair? No,
Oh.
it just looks like her.
Oh.
It's Linda Blair enough.
It's Blair enough. Hashtag Blair enough.
We'll remember that come November. Blair
I don't
enough.
like how you worded that. So lady scientist enters. So Ursa comes back and she's like, hey, are we going to do some sort of science or something? And they're like, yeah, let's use the big words now. Big word, big word, big word.
Yep.
And they're like, we sound smart. And then she like walks him into a closet and then he goes, ow, that hurts. And then she walks out and like puts an empty syringe on a table. I'm like, okay, guess that was the scene. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Then we go back to the kids, right? The Swamp Goonies. Mm-hmm. And the chubby kid, he's like, we got to stop. And and I write, this kid's great. The other kid, the black kid, tells him, like, hey, it's going to be $10,000 if we can get a picture of Swampy. And they're like, all right, sounds great. Then we cut to, like, Swampy and Heather on a date. This is my favorite part in the whole movie because it's the most inappropriate line of dialogue in this movie and maybe in many others. Bobby, shall we set the scene? It's a nice day on the swamp, right?
It is.
Particularly sunny day.
Of course.
And they're walking around, and Heather's like, it's so beautiful here. And Swampy says, you know, this used to be a plantation. Hundreds of slaves used to work here. And rumor has it that the ghosts of those angry slaves still haunt the swamp.
Man.
And she responds with,
Once this was a huge plantation worked by hundreds of slaves. Some people say their unhappy ghosts still walk here.
I can't imagine anyone being unhappy in a beautiful place like this.
Good Lord.
I'm like, Heather. Woo! Jim, is this a hard take or
Thanks, Jim.
What the fuck? Yeah, but look at how nice it was, right? Am I like the weather,
What
working
were they
outside?
so mad about? Good point, white blonde lady.
Was this something that like the murderer of the house was like, but you got to mention how the slaves had it nice in the plantation lands to be able to film here, Jim. You know, I really don't know how I'm going to work that into the movie, but it's on you, murderer. I know what you're capable of. So whatever you say, sir. Whatever you say.
God.
I mean, that... I laughed out loud, but I was just like, that is troubling. So kids, back to the Swamp Goonies. The chubby kid ate all the snacks except for 2 apples.
Sad.
Because of course he did.
Because why would he want the apples?
Huh?
Why would anybody want the apples?
Yeah, exactly.
Useless.
Still sugar.
It's true.
There's a strange noise, right?
And he tells the other kid, tells Reggie to go check it out.
And Reggie's like, fuck you, go check it out. I'll take the picture.
He's like, what if somebody gets me?
So he walks over. He pokes a stick in something. He turns around. The militiamen have captured Reggie. Why?
Damn it. Yeah, to
I
what
write,
end?
why?
No reason for this.
Then we go back to the date, and Swampy gives Heather a flower, and then they hear the screaming of children, and Swampy's like, gotta save the day. Runs off. And this is the thing is, like, so Heather is completely useless. As she just walks around, she goes, what? How do I live? And she's just sitting there like, she's like a total idiot.
Yeah, she's out of her
Going
element.
like,
What's she know about the swamp?
Or life.
Anything.
You know, the last time she was alone, she wandered into a moonshine camp going like, do you know where that house is? That big giant slave house.
Her favorite thing in the world is plants, but if you surround her with them, she gets terrified.
So that's when the militia's with the kids. Swampy beats them all up with a baseball bat.
Put me in, coach.
I'm ready to play. Smack.
Right in the face.
So then he gives them their bat back. And they're like, can we take a picture of you? And he goes, sure, only if your friend can be in it. Which I was like, why? But okay, fine.
Yeah, he's trying
Whatever.
to include the fan. You know,
That's
he's
true.
being a nice guy.
He's like, chubby kid doesn't get his play.
And so they have an awkward, convention photo.
Yeah, where he just kind of puts
Meet
his
Dick
hand on him.
Durock in full Swamp Thing costume. $40 for a photo.
And the kid's like, and then the Reggie is like trying to take the picture, and he's like, got to take that lens cap off, kid. Oh, God, I'm sorry. And then we cut to Heather in the swamp. She's just standing there. Oh, my God, screams. And then Swampy leaves. They don't get their 10 grand picture. God damn it. So then Swampy tries to find Heather. That's all that really happens. Is she got taken by Arcane on a fan boat.
Sounds like a job for Chuck.
Yeah. On their way to get Chuck, they picked up Heather.
They
got another
passed.
job to do.
Fan boats passing in the night.
Can you imagine Chuck meeting Swamp Thing at his house in Florida and being like, nope. Let me ask you a question, Mr. Thing. You know that water, technically, where you're living, right? Taxable, right? Those plants you've been consuming and selling?
You're claiming the swamp is your property?
Yeah. That's
You did use the word property, right?
You work here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
All right. We're going to have to see what the higher-ups say about it, but... If you do me a favor and fill out this W-2.
Swamp Thing's like, I don't even remember how to do this. I'm going back into the swamp.
So that evil dude at home, basically the incel militiaman comes up with points, and they're like, hey, we have some plot to tell you. And then the lady says, and I write, why is this lady at the points never in action scenes?
Never.
Like, she just kind of, like, disappears whenever they say they're going out to go get something, and then Wynorski's girlfriend doesn't get to be in the action.
No.
So I'm like, what the fuck, Jim?
Come on, Jim.
Come on. You play her off as a badass, but she doesn't get to shoot a gun, except for the one scene where she kills a cop? Come on. She wants some of that swamp meat, you know?
That lunch meat?
Maybe she's too afraid that she was going to also have those eyes for Swamp Thing.
You gotta be careful about that.
Dick in that suit. Talk about tension.
Mr. Steelio girl.
So then the incel guy in points... they recount the plot for anyone that didn't know the last 5 minutes of the movie. They basically just say, like, do you see what happened when we went? Yeah, we all saw it. Thank you, Jim. So then we go to the evil lair. Heather's trying to escape from a chair she's strapped to. The scientist lady, so Ursa tells her something about how her mother... Right, it doesn't matter. Something about how she died, but it wasn't really Arcane, but she did. Who cares? It was like, it was her own fault. There were problems on both sides.
Yeah.
And then the evil dude shows up. Arcane shows up, and he's like, hey, more science, science, science. I sound smart. And they're still on this immortality kick, and I'm like, don't really see where this is all going, but I get it. They chained up a girl in an evil genius's lair. I get what's going on.
And he's going to pull some Shang Tsung shit and try to, like, take her soul power so he could stay young.
Yeah. And I'm like, what's this have to do with manimals again?
Nothing.
Because this is brand new.
And why'd they need a
Brand
blood sample
fucking
to check on this? No,
Yep,
no reason.
exactly. No blood sample needed. None of it. So then incel points, I write more nothing, but they show off their scars.
Yeah, they do this whole thing where he shows one scar and goes, Granada, and she shows one and goes, hate
Well, hold
Ashburn.
on. He says Granada, friendly fire.
Yeah.
As I write, That must have been on purpose.
Oh yeah, he pissed somebody off.
I think he pissed everybody off.
Yeah.
And they were like, so we're all in agreement when he walks away, we're going to mortar him?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah. And then he comes back like, dude, I almost got... And they're like, oh, fuck.
So he tells her about the Granada one, and she shows one from Haight-Ashbury.
Zing.
And then we get to the big zing from this one.
When would you get a scar with hippies? Free love,
Wasn't there a riot?
Oh, okay. Maybe that. Yeah.
Before my time, but I believe there was a riot in Haight-Ashbury.
Us millennials, we don't know.
Millennials only.
Yeah.
That's our motto.
Right?
And then the final one is Motley Crue.
Zing! Yeah. Which is just like a bite or something.
Yeah, it was like a bite
on her chest, which I also thought was an odd choice.
Which I'm sure was because Tommy Lee was standing next to the cameraman.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
And then so Swampy arrives at the mansion. Well, because they get all turned on and they try to make out with each other.
Oh yeah, they're going
it's like
for
he
it.
finally found a girl who's for him. She's been standing in front of him the whole time.
How romantic.
And so then Swampy arrives at the mansion. Well, after a guy interrupts them as they're about to make out, Swampy arrives. We go to the evil lair. The incel comes down and he's like, hey, Swamp Thing's on his way. And I'm like, of course he is, you fucking idiots. Of course he's coming here. Nobody needed to know that.
No.
You didn't need to go down the elevator and tell everybody. We all knew, man. That's why you're upstairs supposed to be guarding the fucking place. Of course he's coming here. And then he leaves. And then, by the way, do you think everybody's like, and don't turn on any faucets? Hello? Don't flush the toilet. Don't use the sink. Because the Swamp Thing can come through it. Oh, my God. They should have had a scene where he came through the toilet.
Just up from the toilet?
That's such a Wynorski thing, too, where some guy's, like, taking a shit, and then Swamp Thing just goes, ah, and, like, kind of Jurassic Parks him off the...
Like that ghoulie from the VHS cover?
Yeah, exactly.
Just a little green head coming out of the toilet?
Yeah, and Swamp Thing's, like, he comes out wearing a guy like a hat, and just throws them off. So then... Scenes of Swampy beating dudes up, and at one point he says it's too easy, and I go, it is.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Because he even does the thing like some guy lights a cigarette, and he's like, need a light, and then he punches him. It's like, that's not even, he didn't even have a lighter.
Terrible joke.
It's not a gym. So then we go to the lair, and I write, I guess they're somehow going to transfer life energy. Why'd they need her blood again? What's this have to do with animals, manimals? Who cares? Heather flatlines, she's dead.
Ah, well.
Okay. Then Swampy fights the incel guy in the most anticlimactic battle, is that guy has a Jeep, and he's driving down and he goes, ah! And then Swamp Thing throws a grenade and he dies.
Yeah. Didn't expect Swamp Thing to throw a grenade in this movie.
They also didn't expect Jim Wynorski to be pushing that Jeep. So we go to the lair, and then evil dudes, Arcane's looking in the mirror, and he looks younger, I guess.
A little?
I'm like, I don't know, Luis.
Not sure it's worth it.
Still got some wrinkles, dude. And then he looks at his hand, and he's like, wait a second, I'm turning into a manimal.
I knew it.
And he looks at Ursa, and he goes, you... and then he goes over to the machine, he goes, you switched the vial on me. And here's the thing, he comes over, and he's like, look, I'm not mad. Uh-oh. That's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
What every abuser always says. I'm not mad.
Right.
I'm not mad at you. I just want to know why. Right? I just want to... Bam! Shoots her in the gut.
Of course.
Yep. And he's like, she's dead. So then Swampy shows up. He throws a chair at Arcane and just knocks him over. By the way, that's it. That's a wrap on Luis. He will not get up. He will not stand. He's just going to sit there for the rest of the movie.
Don't care what the script says.
I can imagine Jim being like, all right, Luis, and then he's going to come in. You guys are going to have a scene.
No.
He goes, nope. I'll be on ground. But, Luis, you're the bad guy. You got to have like a big climatic battle and everything.
No, I'm pretty sure I'm on the ground.
Nope. Check the gate. Can I at least get a shot of you looking upset?
What's
No.
that you said? You said that's a wrap on Louis Jourdan?
Yeah. That's
yes,
it.
I agree. Maybe it is.
So here's the other thing is that like, so Swampy just like kind of fights nobody.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's kind of running around looking for something to do.
MTV's The Head shows up. Because Asthma Cop...
I wrote it as a Twilight Zone alien, but yeah, it's...
Asthma Cop just has like an enlarged head. I'm like, well, that has nothing to do with being a manimal.
And that's a Marvel villain.
Like, what the fuck are we doing now? Yeah, he shows up with a big head, and he's like, I should fight you.
My head is big.
Because
Fight me.
Luis won't. And then Swampy beats him up, throws him into that machine, right, the disintegrator, and it goes, overloaded, going to explode. And so he picks up...
This is the overload, self-destruct in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, what?
So he picks...
Why is that a feature?
Yeah, why? And, yeah, turn it off. And so then Swamp Thing picks up Heather Locklear's corpse. And here's the other thing. Swampy, dude, friend of the swamp, friend of man, friend of creature, just fucking lets all the experiments die.
Fuck him.
Yeah. Doesn't even unlock the cages
You know,
or anything.
That's what happens. You get caught up with a girl,
Yeah.
and everything you used to be about out the damn
By the way,
window.
she's dead at this point. Dead.
Yeah.
Flatlined.
He's lost her.
He brings the corpse of a lady outside and says, you know what? I will not save you, disgusting creatures. You should die. As Luis just looks into the camera where he goes, champagne wrap, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm done.
Thank you very much.
I'm
Cut
done.
that cake.
I'm done. Thank God we finished 3 days early.
Yep. He's already got the taxi with the engine running.
Yep. Oh, he's got it. Ready? That briefcase full of money?
Yep.
He's done. You know? So then, basically, the whole end of the movie is that Swamp Thing walks out. The whole mansion explodes. Great miniature work, by the way, of that exploding mansion. It does look good. And then we just cut to him and Heather Locklear. He does some sort of Star Wars space magic, like force magic. Rotoscopes are alive again. And she sprouts a plant from her foot.
Yeah, it's weird.
And now she's a love story, and it's almost like Jim Wynorski's like, and canon, now she's in the comics. Fuck you.
Done.
Fuck you, Alan.
And we have she asks, so are you attached to this swinging bachelor lifestyle? And he goes, not necessarily. I don't need this. Put me in, coach. We're doing that for you,
We'll
Fogarty.
put it in the credits, Fogarty. Is that okay? No, it's got to be on some part of the film.
What a weird thing to end on, too, is a flower sprouting from a human foot.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, man,
Like,
there's
that's-
lots of problems with that.
I don't need more body horror at the end of this.
If there's going to be another one, she's like a swamp lady. You know, maybe.
And she's like half bark.
Yeah. So would you recommend The Return of Swamp Thing? Bobby?
You know what? I would. Mm-hmm. I would. This movie's batshit. It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
weird.
It's a fucking mess.
It like doesn't know if it wants to be a Saturday morning cartoon or a late night softcore flick.
Yeah.
Like, well, we know which one it wants to be.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's like
but it's not getting
a
there.
guy who only knows how to make like late night softcore movies was tasked with making a children's movie.
Yeah.
And this was the weird Brundlefly that came out of that.
I don't know why somebody gave Wynorski $4 million. I
don't either.
I don't know why they tasked him with making a comic book character sequel movie. Not even the first one or anything like that.
But I'm glad
all
they
the
did.
people, Chopping Malls, Wynorski directing. Because when we got this, I was like, what do you mean this is directed by Jim Wynorski? He doesn't direct real movies.
Right.
What are you talking about? Like, this was released theatrically? Wait a second, it has Heather Locklear in it? What the fuck is going on? Apparently, at some point, somebody got so drunk, they said, let's get that guy from Chopping Mall to make that sequel to a Wes Craven movie, huh? And he'll make it funny. Okay. So, yeah, I recommend it because, like you said, this is like a big budget direct-to-video movie. It's a Wynorski through and through, but with $4 million instead of like, $50,000. So
Yeah.
that's what you get. Watch it.
Absolutely. And
Also-
especially seek out this new Blu-ray.
The
'Cause we
commentary
gotta
is
hear
worth
those
it.
commentaries.
Commentary is fantastic, and also all the interviews has interviews with Wynorski. Here's the funny thing: it's like Wynorski, the composer, and the producer, I think, all do interviews. And here's the thing: is that they're all in the room and they just interview each other.
That's pretty cool.
But like
actually.
one of them takes turns, so it's like Jim's sitting there, and it's like, "Hi, I'm the producer. I'm sitting right next to the camera, and I'm going to interview Jim Wynorski. Here's some questions, Jim."
That works.
It's great,
Nice little round table.
and yeah, it's totally enjoyable.
I dig it.
Do you hear that sound?
Oh, man.
How do you think Bobby and DeVito fit in the world of Return of Swamp Thing, Bobby?
Well, I don't think that Ursa perished. I don't think she died of the gunshot. I don't think she died in the explosion. I think that she's attempting to make her getaway in the swamp when she finds a vine-covered structure that looks like at one point it may have used to be a large vehicle. And when she hears a faint sound of music still coming from the inside. And when she turns around, she sees a half-man, half-penguin hybrid standing next to a large swamp creature with an orange poof on its head. And the orange poof-haired swamp creature suddenly holds up a swamp pickle.
Want to fight? I thought for a second you were going to say the straight arrow turned into a fan boat.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, baby.
Roll with it, I'm listening.
Well, I think that they were maybe the Elephant Man.
Oh, that was
And
them?
the other guy. And like they were
A cockroach?
Look, Bobby, I found this classified ad. It said, wanted militiamen, reward room, board, broads.
I think it sounds like a good deal, Bobby.
That's all we need. Bobby, do you see this picture of this lady named Points? She's one of them. And I'd like to give her a point, if you know what I mean.
That sounds good, DeVito. Why don't we go down? Where is it?
Georgia.
Okay.
So they ride on down, they go to the house, they apply for the jobs, and Arcane goes, oh, okay, we'll let this pretty lady give you a shot.
Oh, did I see you in Superman?
And she goes, sure. And next thing you know, unfortunately, Swampy let him die. And the thing is, he let him die for a good reason, because he knows everybody. He knows the horror that DeVito and Bobby have reigned on the country in the 10 years since the van was released. And he looked at that elephant boy, and he said no. Elephant boy, who was DeVito, and Cockroach Man, who was Bobby.
Of course.
And he said, just let them die. Burn them all.
Everyone's better off. He made the right decision. He truly saved us all.
I think he did. Well, thank you for joining us on another episode of The Grindbin. You can find us at grindhousefilm.com. We're on Twitter at GrindPod. We're on Facebook, The Grindbin Podcast, Instagram, and everywhere else. Bobby, do you have anything else to add?
I have nothing specific to plug. I just, again, would like to thank MVD for sending us this copy of Return of Swamp Thing on Blu-ray. Go ahead and check out their products. They have a pretty good line. It's a fairly new label of the Rewind collection, but everything on there is awesome.
And next week, week 2 of Summer Sequel Month, do you feel like we might be taking a trip back to someplace we've been before?
I think so.
You think it might be somewhere on the East Coast?
I think it's time. It really is time to dust off our bikes and ride back in.
I wonder where we're going.
You into plants?
Hey, Bobby, I got the money.
Dad, I made the team. But you're a hooker.
Get that goddamn thing out of your mouth.
I didn't say it, knocker. I don't know. Spooky ain't got no real rhythm.
Hello, Mr. Man.
We're gonna play a little game, baby.
I just love fun and games. Get a little girl all hot and horny.
This is Los Angeles.
How the hell would women live? I'm horny. And maybe Daddy wouldn't have had to kill himself because he couldn't get it up anymore.
What a shame.
It's for jacking off.
Come on, just step on the gas before we get creamed.